Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Steve on the level, Thomas van der Zander, Kenna Bear, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Amish Battle Merch, Sensual Goat, Mitch Kennedy, Rod the Name's Burley, Todd Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, J Mels 24, Unimento, Iron 26, Endless, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, Level Playing Poem, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W., Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Charion Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Really? I got it from jail.
It's a military cadence, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of veterans end up in jail, Neil.
Would have been 6 months of intensive military training that I signed up for and got kicked out after 2 weeks.
You could have been an upright globe believer, but you got kicked out. Now you're a flat earther.
I hope this kid makes it in because yesterday on a job, I called him over because I was listening to the Ball Busters from Saturday. And I said, I want you to listen to this one. And I was explaining to him a little bit. And he looked at the other kid who was working with. He said, "See, that's what I was telling you about planes. It's impossible to fly around the globe. I was just telling him that." This kid's pretty sharp. Jabari. One of he's a really good soccer player. But he said he was going to come in, so.
Just so you know, Neil, when I was going into the military, you could do things like refuse vaccines. Now that's not allowed.
Yeah. Got to be careful how we talk about it on here, too.
100%.
Right. Well, all those papers that you sign, are you giving up your rights as an American and accepting the Uniform Code of Military Justice? So you're no longer protected by anything like the Constitution.
Yes, true.
Really?
Makes
Yes.
sense. That's why they have separate police. Separate judicial system, right?
That's how they can force you to take vaccinations.
Which means they've got separate rules governing them, like John just said. In that case, the Constitution doesn't necessarily apply to you. I mean, maybe aspects are applied within the military courts, but ultimately, you've signed a contract and you've put yourself under a different jurisdiction, haven't you? Military.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, nice and clear.
Awesome. Yeah, they use the military for a lot of medical experiments because they can't say no.
Right.
My father swears that they did something where he wasn't able to have any females, claiming that shots that they gave him, because all my father could produce is boys. And he had this conspiracy that that's all they wanted to produce was men for war.
Okay.
In the end, we're losing right now. That's what's important. We're losing a mindset. I don't know. Like if people aren't aware that they're backsliding when they think they're moving forward, I don't know if we can really move forward. So I don't like. That's my message on the show, probably going forward.
How bleak? They're saying enjoy servitude. There's some people that are like metaphorically in the Matrix and can't be woken up. Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is I have a more realistic view of where we are, based on how people are responding to propaganda.
Okay.
So all I'm saying is, okay, well, in the end, what we're doing is the right thing. It's just not happening as fast as we would like. We just think that somebody comes to the truth and that's it. No, it's a process each and every individual has to take. And in order to go on that road, they actually have to disregard any mental doors regarding an authority on information, an authority in their life, as far as wellness. Like these are things that you have to forego to actually look at information. And if a person doesn't have time or isn't willing, then it won't happen.
Yeah, that's the bit I was saying was bleak, but fair enough.
Are they worthy of the information for me to care if they understand it or not, though?
Well, I mean, when you ask that, like when I'm saying what I'm saying it to the majority of people that I experience. So if you're okay with saying that to 99% of the people that you love, then cool. Because everybody's like that on some piece of propaganda or another. And my running theme is actually what would fix this, what would fix that, what would fix every other subject that, should be simple, is people have to change their operating system. And if they don't know that they have to do that, nothing's going to change.
There's also Craig, the guy that piped up a second ago, Click OK, and I were talking about one of our mutual friends that we go out for curry with, who's a photographer, and he knows all and sundry when it comes to photography. But then when you put a picture of the Earth from space in front of him, that all goes out the window. I mean, I'll just put it down to cognitive dissonance. You're saying he needs a completely new operating system. But in that instance, he's got an operating system that can identify good or bad photography, except when it comes to space.
Does that mean that the underlying thing, see, that's why it touches every subject, because it isn't about photography. It isn't about geography. It isn't about geometry. It's about the decisions you're making when you're deciding whether something is fallacious or not. If you can't do that, what what are we talking about?
Well, it's religious belief, but it does still slip into. You say it isn't about photography versus photography, but it is in this instance, very specifically. So it's, can you assess whether or not something's photographically accurate or not? And when the answer's it's got something to do with my religion, therefore no. That's straight up cognitive dissonance, isn't it? But it's as a consequence of having a religious belief that puts you in that cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, we agree. Yeah.
Hey everyone. If you look at the ball busters from Saturday, paid NASA shell came in, and the first thing he said is, None of these people know anything about. No flirt knows anything about aviation. Blah blah blah. Heap of rubbish. And I replied back. I gave him a reply, but I gave him 2 replies. And the second reply was basically stating that whether he's an agent paid to do this or not doesn't really matter, because even if he's not a paid agent to do this, even though he calls himself paid Nasser Chill, right? Kind of nearly joking about being paid.
Sean Hawkins.
I said your behaviour. It's not paid Nasser Chill. I've actually spoken to him. It's not Sean Hawkins.
Pretty sure it is.
Paid Nasser. Is it? I've spoken with him, and it wasn't Sean Hawkins. Anyway, look, I'm not going to argue with that.
Fair enough.
The point is that that won't matter with my point. The point is that I said to him, I said, whether you're a paid agent or not, it doesn't matter, because your behaviour as someone who is just basically an extremist believer is exactly the same as someone who is a paid agent. And I got no reply back.
I think it's worse.
It's like I found.
I agree with your sentiment, but I actually think it's worse. The zealotry of our opponents is worse than a paid agent. Because a paid agent, you know, if you were to say someone like Will Duffy was a paid agent, I'd nod along and there'd be very little for me to disagree on. Because he's sort of got this smug way about him that says, what happens is inconsequential, I'm going to plough forward with my motivation. Yeah? Whereas the zealots, they'll lie in a way that is obviously contradictory in the moment, that I just don't think a paid agent would do. They'd be trained not to do that. You know, to figure out a way around it rather than lose by contradiction or something like that. So I actually think it's worse. The zealots behave worse than paid agents. Because it like again, back to any job, if you're a paid agent, it means that you're doing it as a job. Well, if you're an agent of somebody, it means that there's a power that should not be, if you will, above you, that's paying you to do that. Well, in that instance, somebody's phoning me. Should I put my phone on silent? Hold on a second.
Yes. I do have a rebuttal to that. When he gets back.
Stupid spam calls. Sorry. Yeah, when you've got a job, and even if you're a highly skilled, highly paid agent, it's not your passion necessarily, right? You're being paid to do it. So if I think back on any job that I've ever had when I'm working for someone else, the man, I've never put 100% effort into anything, ever. Now this, because it's my passion, I absolutely put more than I can really afford to do, to the point where I sometimes burn out a little bit. Yeah, I sometimes get the balance a bit wrong because I'm putting so much effort in. Well, that's not the case even when I was in a job that I really liked. You know what I mean? If there was an opportunity to skive off, you know what I mean? So I can only imagine that in any job it would be the same. I'm not saying that everyone's like me and would skive off at a given opportunity, but you know what I'm driving at? If it's not your passion, it's your job, you don't necessarily put the same degree of effort in or fight with the kind of...
No, I agree.
Yeah? You know what I'm getting at? Their passion outweighs even a paid employee. It's like people who are fighting for their village versus a paid army. You know, you can have a lesser force that are more determined and win against a bigger army because they're so determined and they have their passion.
Well, I guess where I would defer on that is that, again, so easy to look over into the other arena I'm paying attention to. And there are people that I know for a fact that are paid shills, right? They're paid. But the thing about it is they're not flexible enough or intellectual enough to respond to something that hits at a premise and destroys either what point they're making or whatever fallacious thing that they're using to try to tell people that what you're saying isn't true. And so it's like when Muhammad Ali, he went and he interviewed, I forget what the name of the guy is, but the thing about it is the guy was an experienced interviewer. It's just Muhammad Ali was so well spoken, his rhetoric didn't work. So you can be paid and still suck.
Yeah, I agree. So you're much better off motivating people to have their own passion for something, and they'll do a better job for you. You don't even have to give them any money.
Just bring them under your spell, and they'll do your bidding for you.
Yeah, exactly. But we're talking about the opponents here. In so many cases, I feel that our opponent's passion for this subject outstrips mine. I mean, I'm as passionate as you can be, but I do feel that, like I say, our anti-flat Earth counterparts, in some instances, have such a high degree of passion for their globe faith. It's quite surreal.
It's not actually for the globe faith. It's fear that drives them. And they tell you what their fears are every time they say, well, everything would have to be a lie, or everyone would have to be in on it. There's a fear that's grasping it. Oh, and that is way more powerful than just wanting to share information.
Absolutely. Well, they compel us with that technique with advertising and have done since forever. You know, the hell cell, the death cell, sometimes referred to, along with obviously the sex cell, where if you can appeal to your primeval instincts in terms of not dying, that is what drives and compels people far more effectively. So in this case, if you're right, and it is just the fear that drives them, then yeah, they are going to put a lot more effort and a lot more. They're going to be less willing to contemplate their actions, in the respect that when I said I will burn out a little bit because of my degree of passion, well, in the opponent's side, they'll push through it to their own mental detriment. Do you know what I mean? That they don't reach a point where they realise that this has become mentally strenuous on them. They just keep going.
Well, you can see it with them over time with how they look. You can see that they are looking older or ragged, tired. You can see it with them way more than we are. You can see they're under way more pressure physically. Now, I mean, sometimes that's what you get when you have too many bad ideas. But you can see that they are genuinely under a lot of pressure, more than we are. Because when you know deep down that you're fighting a losing battle, but you're unwilling to step off, do you know what I mean? To get off that sinking ship. You know what I mean? It is the real fear is the acceptance that they have to get off that sinking ship. They won't accept that the ship is sinking. That's the problem. And they're saying the ship next to them is only paper mache. That's the problem. The good ship they can get onto. They can hold all the passengers. They won't get off of it and get onto that ship.
Because it's a bad ship.
They're sinking with the Titanic?
Yeah, metaphorically.
Ship on sea level, Brian, by any chance?
Yeah. I remember that fear initially when we got here and started debating within subjects that I didn't understand, like the curve calculator when I first got here. I didn't understand the intrinsic nature of the Earth curve being derived from flat Earth measurements when you first look at it. It might be labelled as surface level, but you don't notice. And even if you do notice, you don't know what to make of it. You don't know that that's the Earth being flat by measurement when you see it labelled as surface level. So when I was in that position, it was that, could I be wrong? Am I going to be shown to be incorrect? This needs fighting about. And that was fear compelling me to do so as a new member of a flat Earth belief. But as time wears on and you realise more and more there's nothing going to change this, nothing's going to alter, you relax more. And then when you find, as we have in the last few years for me especially, you've got proof, you've got measurements. That's how the world is dealt with. And in order to accept that, you don't actually have to accept anything being anything other than it always was. It's always been dealt with in the same way. So there's no radical adjustment that's needed. Whereas on the opponent's side, it's not that there's a radical adjustment needed to take you off the ball. There's a radical adjustment needed to reality to keep you on it. And they exercise that radical adjustment in reality. Again, to their cognitive detriment, it must be mentally painful to process like these inconsistencies with the way that the world is actually dealt with. Like I say, for us, it's relieving. It's stress relieving when you go, yeah, that's how it's dealt with, and no apology is required. For them, oh no, it's only dealt with that because it's a teeter-tottering tangent plane on the bottom of a ball with a transposition into hell. You're like, that's mentally grinding and cannot be easy to cope with when you come to sleep at night, trying to wrap your head around the bastardization of a flat earth measurement to keep your belief intact. That's not going to relax you. Number one, you'd want to understand it in a way that in your mind at least squares that circle. And even when you know deep down, as Brian just said, it's not actually squaring anything. It's just it's a justification. It's a bastardization of an original measurement of the ground itself. Well, it's not gonna get you off to sleep at night. I don't even think about it. I mean, we discuss it in these terms while we're on the shows, and sometimes behind the scenes when we're doing phone calls. But I'm not sitting around worrying about, have I contemplated how Earth is actually measured today? Because there's a new problem from the globe that says it isn't, and shows that it isn't. It's not. There's not a day that goes by that I'm being presented with a curve measurement. It's never happening, is it? We dealt with that immediately, and it's never ever going to change. So life plods on for us, and it's, like I say, less and less concerning. Earth is flat. It becomes easier to say each day. For them, it's not the case. Anti-flat earthers, that is.
But I think sometimes that what they want is to actually drive us as mad as we've driven them. But we didn't drive them mad on purpose. But they purposefully want to drive us mad with the way they debate. The level of, sometimes it is cognitive dissonance. Sometimes it's just pure dishonesty and kind of bitterness or ill will, where they just will not concede to something, and they want to go around them they want to go around in as many circles as possible, so it looks like they didn't lose, or even if it might even look like they actually won when they didn't. But they just want to drive us mad because we have driven them mad when they're trying to do it. They're gone mad. These people have gone, like a lot of these guys have gone crazy.
Yeah, they want a way back into the Matrix. They're like Cypher. They've already wandered their way out, and they just hate where they found themselves. But there's no way back, is there? You can't be an ignorant globe believer once you're an anti-flat earther. There is no way back. You can't unsee what you've seen here. That's what they yearn for. I wish I could climb back up the hill and just be ignorant and know that I'm on a ball without giving it any consideration. Now, even for me, at the top of that hill is me looking at science at NASA videos going, something ain't quite right here. Even before I knew, it left me with an empty, hollow feeling. A very unsatisfactory outcome to each bit of research into the space that I thought was existent above my head. It never quite sat right. Even then. But even, as an anti-flat earther, they'd want to climb back up to that position of, oh, it'd just be nice if just occasionally there was a bit of uncertainty and I just got on with my day.
I don't know. Climbing up a hill is exhausting. I just climbed up one now, and I'm exhausted. Why would you want to do that?
The mental metaphorical hill of falling down the rabbit hole of flat earth as a flat earther or anti-flat earther. It doesn't matter which. Once you've fallen down that hill, you can't get back to blissful ignorance. You can't just be like the guys on the street that you meet in the bus stop. When you talk to random normie, when I talk to the people on Omi, for the first 25 seconds that they're talking to me, they are in blissful ignorance of the deceit that the world holds before them. And that is where they want to be. The anti-flat earthers want to be that guy before I speak to him. That girl before I ruin their misapprehensions about the world they thought they lived in. But before that moment, they were in blissful ignorance. That is what the anti-flat earthers truly want and can never have.
You know the guy, the Lower Lodge. Remember that guy, the Lower Lodge guy with big curly hair?
Yeah, he's a great example. Yes, carry on.
Yeah, when he was debating with it and we were covering it, both when it was being covered on this show and on QE Live or Ballbusters, whatever it was, we didn't give it enough of a chance. I wanted it to go right through to the end because he actually ended up, even though it was Witsit, he ended up telling Witsit to get out of his show. That's what I'm telling him. You know, get out of his show. He telling him, get out of here, don't come back, and just give your socials and get out, get off my show, get away. Right? He literally couldn't deal with it. Witsit was just calm, and he was just losing it. You could see him getting agitated, and I'm more agitated and more agitated. Healthier. Literally, he looked unhealthier at the end of it than he did at the start. And he started looking unhealthier the minute he got into the topic. Started making him look unhealthier. And now he's ignoring it as if it didn't happen. You can't ignore it. You can't pretend you just didn't have those debates or you didn't make the videos you made. Feeling he's going to eventually just take the videos down or something. You know, he came into a topic and he is a great example. He's trying to just pretend it didn't happen. Literally.
Yeah, once you've opened Pandora's box, that's it. Doesn't matter if you like what you see inside, does it? Yeah, look, dude, I hate it. I wish I could go back and not see. I hate it. And then you can lie to yourself about it still being a ball. I still believe it's a ball. That's fascinating.
You know what drives them crazy? When you tell them the globe is measured flat, they lose their mind.
It doesn't matter. That's one of those few. Although I consider it to be the best argument, it's inconsequential to them, isn't it? It doesn't matter to them that it's measured flat. It's measured flat, but it's still a globe. It's measured flat because it's a really big ball. In other words, it doesn't matter what ludicrous extents they have to mentally go to justify how it's measured flat, but still a ball. They will do it anyway. For me, like I say, that means I don't have to think about it. It's not like I'm going, 11 o'clock, finally get my head down. Thank God it's measured flat and I understand the elevation. I don't think any of that. It's not even crossing my mind. It's not a concern, is the point. That might be for some people who are less familiar with the subject. But as they're contemplating it, the contemplation will lead them to relief as opposed to stress.
Right. But once you get to the point that it's measured flat, then they need to know what measured means. So make them define it just to see if they can, because I don't think most people can.
Yeah,
Right.
It's calculated spherical, but it's measured flat.
That's interesting. What's calculated spherical?
The globe face.
The globe.
No, it's not. It's never calculated spherical.
What do you mean? It's calculated into being spherical with Haversine conversions of flat elevation angle measured and ephemeris star measurements. I mean, what do you mean it's not calculated spherical? It's calculated into being spherical. Is that what I mean?
No. The Haversine conversion formula is still with respect to a flat plane. There is no calculation for a globe. There's no maths for a globe. Such things do not exist. They believe it does because they misinterpret the calculation. There's no calculation for a globe.
Okay. Interesting.
Well, there is. They take they get their radius from elevation angles to Polaris. It's a back calculation of that gives them
That
the
is-
radius.
That is a circle of equal altitude, correct?
Well, no, because how they go about it is they're using the longitude. Like longitude lines. That's how they get the radius.
I think in the same way as if you've got like a really complex scanner, and you can scan an item like a Lego set, and then you scan it and you render it on your television screen, right? The measurement is always going to be a three-dimensional measurement, but what you're rendering out will only ever and can only ever be two-dimensional. So saying it was a two-dimensional calculation, you're like, well, you've got a 3D rendering within a 2D visual of a 3D item that's been scanned. But what actually matters is the original item and how it's scanned, as opposed to the end presentation. When it comes to the globe, you've got a flat measurement of flat angles that then mathematically give you predictions of orbital motions when you change those calculations of a flat origin into a motion that could be described as a spherical surface moving around in an orbital or elliptical motion. But the original calculation is flat. Therefore, to suggest that it's been calculated into being spherical is a misinterpretation of the original angle measurement that you're utilising to make these predictions. Therefore, it's, as John describes, never actually calculated spherical. It's only ever inferred to be spherical based on the flat derivation and predictions of the stars that are taken with flat measurements. You can infer that as a third party, but if you actually do the maths, you would violate your original measurement if you're suggesting that the Earth is actually spherical at any stage, if you understand the mathematics. Is that correct, John?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not exactly. I have to think about how you just said that, but it really comes down to, are all the calculations done with respect to the plane of reference? Yes.
Yes.
So never a globe. Never a globe.
Yeah.
Not the calculation for the radius.
They're
That's
flat.
not.
Flat radius. It's a flat radial value on a circle of equal elevation.
It's not.
Yeah, it is.
Not.
The measurement that you describe originally, the radial value, is only ever measured flat, isn't it?
Not.
And is it not?
Not.
Just tell me when.
The meeting of the ends of two longitude lines, two opposing longitude lines, the meeting of them of their south ends. That gives them the circle. They then get the radius from that circle.
That's not a sphere. That's a circle. That's a circle.
Yeah, but that's
not a sphere.
That's the radius. But they then, because the longitude lines are, there's 360 longitude lines. Let's just say, because there's a circle, the latitude and longitude is a circle. They then all the southern ends meet. That gives them a grid, the latitude and longitude grid around their sphere. It gives them their sphere. Do you understand what I mean? But that's where they get it.
Yes, it gives them a celestial sphere, not a globe sphere.
Well, when you said ends,
no,
Brian, when you said ends, what do you mean by ends?
The southern ends of, if you take any two opposing longitude lines, right, they're straight lines, right, opposing. That means, let's say if you're at the north, it's the one right across from the other. And you make the south ends of those longitude lines, which would be 90 degrees south, meet underneath the north. That gives you a south pole.
Right,
now,
but
the radius will be the radius of a circle.
Hold on, Eli.
Sorry?
I'm just stopping Eli. I'm trying to listen to Brian, and Eli's interrupting you. I'm trying to pay attention.
The radius, as John says, that's the radius of a circle. But the radius of that circle is the same radius of a sphere of that size. They just make all the other southern ends meet. It's like they only have to do it with one, and that's how they do it. That's where they get their 3959 from.
Right.
So
they have applied a spherical radius to the stars. That is
Well, no,
not the Earth.
I'm still
yeah, but it's
asking
not the
something.
stars. That's not what the latitude and longitude is.
I'm still asking something.
It's the
Hold on, Eli. You're rumpusing everyone. Just get out what you want to say, because all we can hear is the tyre squealing or train squealing or whatever is going on. Go on, Eli. Say what you've got to say.
Yeah, when you say at opposite ends, I'm assuming like distances in there, and I'm just like wondering like how to get like where the distance comes in. Isn't there a measurement in that?
Yeah, there is. When you measure from 90 degrees north to the equator, that's in a straight line. You've measured like a length of a longitude line of 5,400 nautical miles. When they extrapolate that outward, southward, right, that becomes 10,800 miles, nautical miles. Now, that's one straight line that's 10,800 nautical miles long. There's an opposing line straight across from that that's also 10,800 miles long. When you make the south ends of both of those lines meet underneath the north, right, what happens is you end up with a circle, and you'll use nautical miles to then get the radius, and then you'll convert the statute miles, and that gives you a 395 That's where they got the radius from.
Yes, and that is their misinterpretation.
Go on, John.
Right. Their misinterpretation of the mathematics. You never used a curve for your plane of reference, ever.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Morning.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning. Good to have you all. Any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
Since angles have two straight lines, you're going to need the surface to be a straight line.
Yeah, we measure Earth flat. It's how all the maps have been developed, and how the assumption of a globe capable of reification is also developed with those measurements of a flat plane with those angles to the stars. We were just discussing in the pre-show.
You're measuring a vertical.
Oh, go on, Brian.
I just say it's not just two straight lines. You're measuring a vertical, and that vertical has to be perpendicular to horizontal. And the vertical you're measuring will be from the GP of the celestial body, let's just say to the celestial body, or from the base of, let's say, a tower to the top of the tower or a mountain. So whatever distance you are from that mountain or from that GP point or the base of that tower, that has to be horizontal. As in, even if it's at a different elevation, it must be parallel to a horizontal, which would be mean sea level. The point is that when you're using celestial navigation, sea level becomes horizontal. Your mean sea level is your horizontal. So
right.
There's no, like, how can you measure a vertical and that not be perpendicular to a horizontal? It's impossible geometrically.
Same with all verticals. They're all parallel with one another as well. A parallel zenith.
It's just a lot of people miss that point when it comes to elevation angle. It's not just two lines. It's three lines. Because the line that you're leaving out is the one that's actually being measured, the straight vertical. Because it's an elevation. So elevation is a vertical height above a horizontal plane.
One of my favourite things.
It's always a right angle triangle. Sorry?
At the moment, when the argument goes to this and the opponent tries to lie and suggest that elevation angles have got nothing to do with the surface. Like, what the hell does elevation mean? You know, that intrinsically ties it to the surface. Like, elevation from what? In the middle of space. No, with respect to the horizontal plane of reference. When you get to the end of the point, I want to kind of engage the live audience with what we were discussing about the pain of our opponents in the pre-show. But carry on, Brian.
Oh yeah, it's just that's the thing. Is they want to deny the right angle triangle for elevation when it comes to celestial bodies, but they want to use it when it comes to a mountain. Now, you're not using trigonometry with the celestial bodies. Can if you want, but you won't get the answer you're looking for. That's why you have to do it different. But the point is, if you're measuring elevation, then you're not measuring in 2 dimensions. You're measuring in 3 because you're measuring a height above a plane.
Hey, Brian, I can measure an elevation angle to the end of a rainbow. Would that would mean the pot of gold could be there, right?
And it's
Well,
GP.
Well, it's only locally gold.
Okay, the point of all this is in the pre-show we were discussing the fact that with time, as a flat earther, things become less concerning. Now, you can call that comforting if you like, but that wasn't the context we put it in. It's more the idea that if you haven't got to worry about it, you won't worry about it. Therefore, it's not cause for concern. Whereas our opponents, the anti-flat earthers very specifically, not your rank and file average Joe Normie. Shout out to Goldie for gifting a membership. But your anti-flat earther, that guy is in more pain as the time progresses. You know, back in the day, they lived in wishful thinking that flat earth would be been and gone and done and dusted within a year. You know, 12 months from now, there won't be any flat earth. I've been hearing that for 10 years. Yeah, that's wishful thinking. But for the people who actually engage with the discussions and the debates, it becomes more and more stressful to be an anti-flat earther. They've fallen down the same exact rabbit hole as us, but their rejection of the reality that they're faced with leads them in cognitive pain and often cognitive dissonance, where their current constructs that they form with things like photographs, as we were discussing it in the pre-show, contradicts the actual reality when photos from space are the subject of discussion. But for us, we know it's fake. We don't have to square the circle of unrealistic pictures anymore. We don't even have to concern ourselves with them. On this show especially, we very rarely talk about space beyond the it's fake, gas would be filling it. That's about where it ends. There's nothing more to say. Do we concern ourselves with the most recent fakery from NASA? No. I can't remember the last time I ever looked at any of it.
Well, why it becomes easier for us than them over time, becomes more difficult for them and easier for us, is because when you first come into the topic, you're dealing with a lot of people on the opposing side who appear to have a lot of information and appear to know lots of things. And you don't realize until time goes on that half of what they're telling you, they have wrong anyway, right? They keep getting things wrong. They keep messing up. They keep on getting their facts wrong. They keep on coming out with big statements that are wrong. And so consequently, people start losing faith in them. They start going, well, that fella didn't know what he was talking about. I thought he did, but then this fella didn't know what he was talking about. And I thought he did as well, but he don't know. And then over the course of time, you realize that the ones that actually do understand certain things, let's say like your Ruhips or whatever, that do understand certain things and will get a lot of their kind of, let's say, facts straight, they don't actually, even with all that, they don't have an argument. So Ruhif, as tricky as he wants to be, he doesn't actually have an argument to present. So it doesn't matter how good he is at maths or how good he is at geometry or how well he knows whatever part of physics, it means nothing because he doesn't have an argument to present. And that's what happens on our side. Right. We end up realizing that they don't know what they're talking about most of the time, and we actually do have an argument.
Exactly.
They don't.
So when it comes to Ruhif on McToon show with our resident guru, John, his approach to John was to rumpus him. Because what else have they got? It doesn't matter how good they can present here's 20 minutes of I'm really good at maths. But the moment a question comes about the flat earth that's needed for them, it descends into rumpusing almost instantaneously because they don't actually have an argument. They've got subterfuge, and that's it. 58 people watching. Please share the show if you've not done so already. Massive shout out to all the regulars who are always smashing the share button.
Yeah, it's a great example because I couldn't think of anyone, and I mean anyone anywhere, I don't care what their status is, Brian Cox, anyone else, that would be better than Ruhif as far as defending heliocentrism. Like, he is the trickiest you're going to come across, I would say. But when he was against John just sat there, listened to 25 minutes, and then of Ruhif, right, basically making half the stuff up, but yet he knew what he was talking about. And it came to John, he didn't even get through a sentence and a half without being interrupted. because he had an argument. It didn't matter. Even if John didn't know anything, had no education, but only had an argument, he still won. Or he still was going to win, you know?
Remember the MASH song? 'Cause globe belief is painful. It brings on many changes. And I can take or leave it on my show. Du-du-dum, du-du-du-dum. Remember MASH?
MASH.
Yeah.
It's depressing.
I won't mention the S word, but in some instances I do concern myself. As much as I like to profess to having limited empathy for our opponents, sometimes I do think about it, as in I do have empathy, I'm lying. And I think these people are on the edge, and that can lead to consequences, let's just say, without using any particular S words. You know what I'm talking about, I'm sure.
Yeah, you know, they can shock you, like Buck Sodbuster. He got me the pitch data. It's like, he didn't have to do that. He could have hit it. You know what I mean? Why did he decide to do that? I don't know. Maybe he'll get a hard time off his own side for it, but I mean, I think he just thought that there was no. I think he just thought maybe that nothing could be garnered from it or something. I don't know. He was just interested, actually. He was just actually interested from what you've been saying to me.
Number one, he's probably interested in your take on it. And number two, sometimes people's confidence is so high in their faith that they think, no, nothing that I present could possibly alter that because it's correct. We had that more 5 years ago where people would just off the cuff present us something. And there was also the shills of the world like Rumpus that are out there telling you that things like sextants only work on a globe, just outright lies to throw you off the scent. But there are others unlike that are doing it, not doing it so egregiously and overtly, but doing it because they are none the wiser to the flat earth evidence that they're presenting you. And in their mind, no matter what I dig out, it will prove a globe, especially if the propaganda in the first paragraph says, on a globe we use blah, blah, blah to prove a globe. It's like, yeah, but then when you get down to the nitty gritty of what the actual claim is and what it's using a flat earth. But you just didn't realise it because you're a headline reader. You read the word globe and automatically assumed that this would back your claim, not realising that there could be a layer of propaganda on top of it. But you're not vigilant enough to, or fastidious enough to actually read past the first frigging paragraph.
Well,
I think what's happened.
But Brian, then John.
Okay, I'll keep it as short as possible. I spoke with Buck Sodbuster after the show, just through email. Now, he wrote me an email, and I wrote him one back, and I didn't check back in yet if he replied. But he said, he said, I got well received in the chat and enjoyed it. He said, and you done a really good presentation, Ollie. He said, but there's one thing he failed to address, and he said it was that planes will hold a constant altitude, and they just follow that air pressure around the sphere. And it's just like, I know he's not telling me a load of rubbish. What I mean is that I know he's not just saying that. He's actually thinking that. And I told him I actually addressed that in the presentation. It was addressed. So if you have to do that, it means they still have to pitch below, or that you'd have to pitch. That's still following the circle. So the geometry doesn't change. You still have to pitch below horizontal. But like, maybe he was busy while in the chat. Maybe he didn't see that part of the presentation, but it was pretty clear. Like, I think that sometimes that some of them, they're not paying attention to what we say. It's like maybe they just shut it off. No.
Yeah.
That actually goes into my point, Brian, because what it is like, you remember the dancing bear? You have the white shirts passing the ball and the black shirts passing the ball. And the flat earth believers have been counting the white shirts, and the globe believers have been counting the black shirts. So them two are having a completely different conversation than what we are having. They don't know how to respond. Either side doesn't know how to respond to us because we're pointing out the dancing bear.
Yeah, very true. they're not listening enough to be able to give us a proper response. I think most of the time.
It's back to Eli. Eli is saying that it's being processed with Ubuntu and we're running on Windows. It's just not working correctly. So it's in one ear and out the other. It can't process. They can't process this information like this on screen, right? We talk about the horizontal plane of reference being inside the sphere and the sphere being the protractor. Is that sentence going to process it in the mind's eye of an anti-flat earther? No. They just look at the picture and go, globe. There's a globe in it. Oh, look, there's a globe. So it's a globe. No, we're pointing out how the measurements work within the globe because the globe is effectively a glorified protractor. The only mapped spherical bit is the perspective representation of the angles to a flat sky over a flat ground that can be made into this view for the celestial sphere. But you're still on the flat plane that's sectional in this view. What's heard by a globe? A globe picture. Picture of globe, therefore globe. That's what the globe hears. They're not hearing any of it. It's in one ear and out the other. It doesn't process. They need a new operating system.
On Bev's show, just very quickly, John, on Bev's show a couple of years ago, they had this saying that they would say, it's just his globe, because no matter what was presented, all they got was his globe. That's all they got every time, no matter what was presented geometrically. His globe. You know what I mean? It's like a jerk reaction kind of sometimes. Go on.
Yeah, well, I was going to just give you examples where you tell them about flat Earth elevation angles, and they go, yeah, therefore it's a globe. It's the globe turning through those angles of the latitude. You're like, what? So you're now twisting a protractor that you think the globe is with you standing on the outside edge of the protractor? Yeah, because it's a globe. Like, no, it isn't. But the way you're processing this is, no matter what I say, if you strap on the words, therefore it's a globe at the end of it, or even repeat the flat Earth evidence back to me and say, therefore it's a globe at the end of it, in their mind, that works. That's okay. That's cool. Because we measure in the middle of the globe, we've got a globe to be in the middle of measuring from. No, we're not in the middle of anything. We're on the surface measuring. No, we're inside the globe, therefore globe. That's how it works when you're in a globe. We're not in a globe. We are, look, it's right there in the diagram. Therefore, we're on it. Therefore, globe. You're like, no, we're explaining how your globe gets created with the flat Earth measurements, and all you're hearing is the end result after the calculations and extrapolations, ignoring all the measurements and hearing the word globe at some stage in it. Even if I say the globe's therefore a protractor, they hear globe and go, there we go, it's a globe then. No amount of explanation is ever going to sink in.
Well, I'm laughing, but it's true. I mean, it's true no matter what you present. It's, if they do listen to us at all, like if you go in and look at some of the comments on the Ballbusters forum the other night, hey, when you go in and watch that on Saturday, see the comments. There's only a few comments there from ballers. One of them is your man Payton Shield. The other one is from Steve, the lad Bucks Buster. And then there is another lad, again, who has something to say. But basically, it's like, with the exception of Bucks Buster, it was like, you don't know anything, they're all wrong, you're all wrong. That's it. So it's either that, or just at the end of the conclusion, just go, perfect globe proof.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's one or the other.
Yeah, exactly. The justification, it was on one of them, it happened recently in one of the Omi videos with one of the, general globe-believing normies. And everything I explained to him, his reply was, well, that means it's a globe, right? Because I'm saying, I start off by explaining, well, I can tell you where the globe came from. Well, you measure the Earth flat with these angles, and then I take him through the process in a very basic way of how you get to a globe. And his reply is to say, well, does that mean that it is a globe then? I'm like, okay, well, you've picked out the bits of my sentence where I've described creating the globe mathematically, and are asking me does that mean it is a globe then? Because if you say yes in this point, I'll be happy, because that means it is a globe, even though I've explained to him we're measuring Earth flat to get to this globe. If I answer yes, that person will leave happy. All right, I knew it was a globe all along, and this affirms it, this flat Earth measurement you've just explained to me. You say that does prove we're on a globe then. Yeah, that's that. If I was a deceit and a charlatan over the last 300 years telling you that would be the case, then yeah. If I was Ruhif, I'd be saying yeah, Us measuring a flat Earth with angles to the stars and projecting them into hell through a protractor called the globe Earth to the angles on a spherical surface that's created in the sky that was measured flat also, I can say that yes, that does mean we're on a globe, sir. Yes, that's correct. But I'd be lying, wouldn't I? But that's the world we're faced with. People who will literally say yes at the end of that complex affirmation of flat Earth measurements. They'll say, yeah, that does mean we're on a globe. No, it bloody doesn't. It violates the measurements that you took in the first place. But in your mind, figuring out how those measurements were originated on the surface that was curved, therefore can't be functional, therefore put it in hell, is the reason we're still on a globe in the case of Ruhif. Like, you should know better. But like anybody, like the guy we were discussing in the pre-show with his excellent understanding of photography, doesn't matter when it comes to looking at pictures of the globe, because that affirms his religious belief. Therefore, pictures of the globe are good. Doesn't matter what errors I might have seen with them with a critical eye in terms of photography. This is something else. This is affirming my religion. Measurements in hell affirm my spherical belief. Therefore, of course we can get measurements in hell.
But yeah, he's not listening. It's like when you're speaking to a lot of them, not all of them, but for a lot of them, when you're speaking, they're only hearing certain words. The rest of it is being blocked out. And that's why sometimes when you say something to them, like sometimes it's dishonesty, but sometimes it's purely down to when you say something to them or you respond to them and they kind of just seem to hand wave it, right? Sometimes they haven't listened. They've only heard like certain words, like the word globe and the word measurement and the word, the word, I don't know, sphere, something like that. And that's all they picked out of it. They haven't listened to what was actually being said. They've blah, 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 globe, blah, 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 measurement, blah, 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 sphere. Okay. You know what I mean? That's all they've taken in.
Exactly.
It's even worse. It's even worse when it's someone on your own side that's supposedly arguing for the same position you are, who takes the information that you're sharing with them and tries to argue against it.
Yeah, that does frustrate me because that reeks of laziness when it's our own side. In other words, I've got used to this way of arguing now. I can wake someone up to the idea that the Earth is flat by telling them there's an ice wall and a dome, and I can do that. That's been successful. Creatures do what they have done previously and have been successful with. So when they get into our own side, this is now flat earthers, get into the habit of using these tools that they previously used to wake people up, in quotes, then they just continue to use them even though we'll point out flaws with them in the way that they're dangerous for later debate in this subject, how it will lead to your inevitable downfall. Now, as horrible as it is to say this, and I'm not going to mention any names for obvious reasons at the end, there's so many people who are prevalent flat earthers who have ignored our warnings, which is what they are, in regards to this, and have instead followed these poor arguments to fruition to the point where they will be holding up a loss where they didn't need to. It was first the case with Bob Nodell with gyros. It's like you leaning into this affirming the consequent fallacy when you could be holding your opponent to task based on their claim there's supposed to be 15 degrees an hour of drift. Well, they're using you to affirm it, and you're denying it in the case of your loss when you've got a faulty gyro, and saying that the consequent is actually caused by ether. Like, so you've affirmed the consequent with a new P statement, rather than just admit that, okay, so this proves we do have 15 degrees an hour of a separate reference frame. Well, then flight times would be reduced if Earth's turning underneath, as this gyro suggesting. But they didn't want to lean into it because they had a faulty argument to begin with. We can show that Earth's not turning with a gyro. You're going to affirm the consequent, aren't you? If you're going to try and prove that. Now, if you show a practical use for it, an actual usable reference to the spinning plane that is established with the gyro, and show how that's practically applied in the real world to avoid death in the air, for example, then that's a very useful demonstration. But if you just say, if I don't observe 15 degrees an hour drift, then Earth's not turning, I don't observe the 15 degrees an hour drift, therefore I can affirm my presupposition, which isn't in need of proving. You don't have to prove the non-existence of Earth turning If you're saying it's stationary, you haven't got a positive claim to make. There's no need to affirm the consequent with a gyro. You can show in practical application how that would be the case with a gyro, but our opponent needs there to be a 15 degrees an hour deviation as Earth turns underneath. Now, if that is the case, then Earth's turning underneath stuff. Hold them to it. But we, over the years, have refined these arguments and found the flaw, and also found out where our useful idiot nature as flat earthers serves our opponent's interests when we work within the confines of their fallacies. It's happening right now with the final experiment. Us falling down a rabbit hole so far that we get trapped in this assumption of things like azimuthal equidistant globe projections being flat earth models that are the be-all and end-all of the movement of celestial items we've got no clue about, to the point where we'll tie ourselves to Earth being flat based on what a model does, or what a map does. Sad.
Yeah, I was only thinking last night, or I think it was, or today, there was some video from some years ago where someone was talking about, it was like a flat earth video from 7-8 years ago, and it was about, something like how Mercury does this, that, or the other thing, or, something like that. It wasn't exactly that, but it wasn't that, but it was something like that. It's like, why were we trying to explain things that, you know what I mean? We didn't realize we were just making stuff up. So many of us didn't realize just making stuff up. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
So why are you making it up?
Oh,
You know what I
should
mean?
have been recorded after, I think it was after Ballbusters. You and I and QE and Adam and all the rest of us were all chatting away, and we were discussing various arguments that have fallen out of favour, and they're basically all arguments from bullshittery, like solar luminescence and various other things of a similar ilk, where, oh, they sounded great in 2015, maybe it's a bit later, 2016, whatever, doesn't matter. But now people aren't using those arguments, crap though they were in the first place, to try and suggest that that proves a flat earth in one form or another. And there was a whole bunch of them. Shout out to Goldie for gifting another membership. Really appreciate the support.
It's kind of funny though, because it's a what is, a matter of existence, and people are looking for explanations for it. Like, I'm sorry, I have nothing to give you. You don't understand what a what is question is.
But why do they want to know? Well, the church wanted to know so they'd know when Easter would be.
This thing is still going on though. Like, I mean, you have people who are promoting things like Ether, and part of the reason why they're promoting these things is a way of explaining how the sun moves through the sky type stuff, or how the stars do this. It's like, you have no idea how any of that works. It's so far away from you and your purview, your reach. You know what I mean? It's like the ultimate grasp is greater than your reach situation. It's like you have no idea what any of that is. You certainly can't. You know what I mean? It's trying to come up with answers for just because heliocentrism says this, that, and the other thing happens. That doesn't mean you have to come up with a new lie. Do you know what I mean? It's like, why are you coming up with stuff now? How are you any different if you're coming up with nonsense?
It's pandering. Let me answer you. It's pandering to the audience.
Yes.
Well, why do the stars move in this way? And if you had a certain amount of humility, you'd go, I don't know. But they can't. They don't have that level of humility. They're suddenly put in a position where their authority is granted. So they utilise it with bullshittery. You're like, just because someone's asked you, what's the moon, doesn't mean you've got to give them an answer. You can say, I don't know. The problem is that they go, well, if I say I don't know, that person's going to suddenly question my credibility. You're like, well, if they lack discernment and you having an inability to answer a question you don't know the answer to them lowers your esteem in their credibility, mind's eye, then so be it. That person's dumb. Now, if I don't know something and I attempt to answer a question anyway, I'd expect that to be to my detriment. Not to others.
And it is. That's why the piece of nonsense is so prevalent in this topic, because if the opposing side. If you're wrong, but the other side is more wrong or is also wrong, you can just put the weight of that wrongness on them and hide your own flaws.
Yeah, they try and trap me into every time I end up in a debate. It's almost every other time. They'll try and foist my claim about the sky onto me. Well, what is it? What is the sky then? What's the dome? What's holding in the gas pressure? You're like, I haven't made any claims about this. The antecedent consequent relationship that is gas pressure and the need for containment is what it is. It's not a positive claim. It's an antecedent consequent relationship. And because I state that antecedent consequent relationship doesn't automatically mean I'm making a claim about the sky. In fact, quite the opposite. It's overcoming a claim that is fallacious about the sky made by our opponent. But I can understand that once that's been dealt with, that garbage that someone's just made up, it doesn't mean that I'm suddenly the arbiter of the understanding of the sky. I need to bullshit about ether. Like, so, okay, you've undone the powers that should not be in their wisdom about it being a sky vacuum that they bullshit us with pictures from space. Okay, well, what is it? I don't know. Hold on. You can't just undo someone else's entire religion and then say you don't know. Yeah, I can. Because I don't. I know what it isn't. That doesn't mean that I'm suddenly going to be the arbiter of what it is. Because I've debunked what it isn't.
Remember the bowler started, when they started trying to debate us by saying, I'm not making a claim about it. No, this kind of stuff. It's like, no, you are literally promoting heliocentrism, so you are making solid claims. I mean, you know, this kind of thing where they would say, I didn't make a claim about the horizon. It's like, you did. The minute you tried to promote heliocentrism, you were directly making a claim about the horizon. You know, it's like they were treating it as a tactic that we were using, but we were saying we're not making a claim about it. And maybe up to a point with some of us, maybe it was a tactic in debate by saying I'm not making a claim about it, so that way you're not held to it. But the thing about it is that a lot of time it was just honesty. It's just like, I'm not making a claim about it because I don't know. I don't have a claim to make. I don't know nothing about it. How can I make a claim about what the sun is? I have no idea how to. I don't know what it is, and I don't know how to find out.
Yeah, much to the frustration of our opponents. It's their religion versus you not knowing. And once you undo their religion, it's like you don't have to suddenly think you're going to lack guru status because you haven't got an explanation for something that previously did. You know, and even divining the motivation of why people might feel the need to ascribe an explanation to where there isn't any. That's human nature. People want an explanation for everything. And I don't decry that. I think it's wonderful. Yeah, we should find out what the sky is. Maybe one of us will find out. But if we're always under the apprehension that it's something it isn't, and therefore too difficult for us to ever explore, then we won't ever explore it. More importantly, our focus probably wouldn't be on the sky, but for the fact that we've had our attention placed on the sky. Yeah, there will always be a certain amount of mystery about what the sun is and what the moon is and what the stars are, or why the sky at night is black and the day sky is blue. Those questions will always probably be there. But in terms of what can we actually discover, well, we discovered more land, more territory as we expanded our known plane. Well, that actually bore fruit and bore resources and people, new resources, new lands. That's what we experienced up until the point that we had the globe foist upon us. Now there's no, you're not going to find anything else, and let's look to the sky for resources. It's crazy. So after you relinquish the idea that where we previously found resources out towards the horizon, we should now look at the sky after we know that they bullshitted us about having resources in it. Once you know that there isn't, and then they're never going to come back with moon rocks or Mars rocks or colonize a light, you go, okay, but for the fact that they told me I needed to have attention in the sky, do I actually need to have any attention in the sky? Now, it might have some useful time tracking information, because a lot of the time concepts that we've derived have come from the sky items that we track to give them those concepts and conventions. So yeah, definitely, there'll be some useful prerequisites to the time conventions that we already use. So in that way, you could say it's a regression, you could say it's a progression. It doesn't really matter. But beyond that, How much further does my fascination in the sky actually stretch? Perhaps not very. How high can you go? This high. Okay. Well, beyond going higher and seeing more black and the land being lower below you, what would be achieved by going higher? Is there any resources up there? Are we going to get there and suddenly find gold? And mining rocks capable of giving us... No, we're not. Never. It's garbage. So therefore, the fascination runs out, doesn't it? We're told our entire religion was, for everybody here, a world of sky vacuums and vast distances to rocks and planets and life and intelligence and technology and all the things that go along with it, all as we stare up. Once that goes, give me 3 reasons to look up. You know, you'll be struggling pretty quickly. Because there's no fascination there once we've been told to be fascinated in it. Once that's taken away, we've got stargazing and the motions that have given us some of the conventions, which might regress. But that's it. Meanwhile, we found lands, we mined them, we found new people on them, and then we stopped. You actually have a video to cover today. Brian has said that it might not be appropriate for the show. As you're here, Brian, you might as well tell me verbally you shared it about there being 2 suns.
But it was the concept more than that, else, because it's talking about a second sun. There's other conspiracy type websites, channels on YouTube and other places talking about the same thing, that there's actually a second sun. And just to give not so much validity to it, but just to point out something, some years ago, back in 2016, an astronomer, I think it was 2016, an astronomer came out and said that there is a second sun and that NASA know about it and they're not saying nothing about it. And he was kind of very livid about it. Now, I didn't hear about him after that, but he said there is people out there that do know and are in my field that know about it, but they're not saying nothing about it. So, it's like, I'm kind of wondering, is there a second, let's just say there was, right? I'm not saying there is. Let's just say there was a second one. And it has a second cycle. And that cycle will allow it to do something at a particular time of this year. And then that allows people to video it doing that something. Basically, a Chinook sun, right? But it won't do it next year or something. You know, that kind of way there could be a second, another luminary that the everyday person is not aware of. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know. I personally couldn't prove there's only one sun. That's all I say. But that doesn't mean there's more. But it doesn't matter. I was just throwing it in there as I found it kind of interesting because I was waiting for this.
Should we have a listen?
You can if you want, but I don't know if it'll suit the show or if
it's worth a listen. I'm intrigued because just by pure chance, Craig on the panel was saying that when I popped down earlier to ask about Wi-Fi issues that I've been having that are causing the computer to go wonky when it's connected. So he's made a suggestion, and we just happened to get chatting, and he happened to mention that it might be the case that there's a second dead sun that's causing eclipses. Pure speculation, obviously, but it was just fascinating that you then suggested this video, which is why when I read it, I'm like, oh, maybe we could cover this today, as it's literally within 3 hours the second time I've had reference to it from 2 different people.
It's funny.
May I say something?
You can. I just let me do my call to action. So in the chat going by now, we are going to cover this video. So the channel is called WoodwardTV or WoodwardTV. So please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Just tell him that we gave him a response. We will cover it shortly. Go ahead, Eli.
So I just wanted to say that I think there is a phenomena. And aside from that, like, there's really nothing else you can say. As far as what Brian said about, like, maybe this thing is, visible at some point this year, maybe it's not next year. I think this phenomena happens, like, at certain points during the year because of the angle of the sun and your relationship to it. But there is a phenomena where you see this if you take, I don't know, even just a phone camera or some kind of what do you call it? Something that blocks out light. What do you call that? Filter.
Yeah, filter.
You can see like a small little
UV filter.
a small circle, like at the 2 o'clock position next to the sun. Like I've videoed it myself because I saw it in a YouTube video when I first got into flat Earth after I met you guys. That's why I started talking about the sun, like well, I'm not going to bring up what I say about the sun, but whatever, right? And there's this guy that pointed it out. He was using his sunglasses to look at the sun through his camera, and you can see this thing on the side of the sun, and it wasn't, a solar flare or a filter flare, whatever they call it, glare or anything like that. And I couldn't see that until about 6 months later. But the reason I was looking for it is because they took the video down after it's been up 3 years. I had mentioned it in 24/7, and the next day the video was taken down.
Okay. Well, let's have a listen to Woodward TV and see where it's got
Just before you start it, what Craig said is interesting because it's something I didn't say myself. But when I was going through the solar eclipse from 2017, and I picked out images, and I used all different filters from 3 different softwares. And what I actually saw, and I got photos of, was something that looked more like what they showed the sun to be. Because it didn't represent the moon. Now, I can't say it's not the moon, but I can't say that for definite. But I could say 85% that it's not the moon. Because what I was seeing and what I have the photos of, it just didn't represent the moon. All the patterns weren't there. There were patterns that weren't on the moon or aren't on the moon, and the patterns were more akin to what you would see with the sun with a solar filter.
The moon has something next to it too. Got a screenshot of that as well.
We were talking about that in the past, weren't we?
Pardon me. Yep. Could anyone I understand how this is in relation to heliocentrism and what they claim, but can anybody give a valid argument for how this is valid to what the nature of the surface of Earth is?
It isn't.
Oh no, it's not.
It isn't. The deception that they've utilised to create an idea and an impression of a world that is spherical with those flat Earth measurements is also used in a predictive capacity, to suggest when things like eclipses will occur through occultation in the heliocentric model. Now, when you directly tie the extrapolated globe Earth heliocentric mathematics from the original measurements of a flat plane, you could say that those original flat plane measurements and the predictive capabilities that are offered through those mathematics can be attributed to a flat Earth, because that's where their origins lie when you make these predictions. So, in a very loose manner, with 3 or 4 steps, I can take it back to a flat Earth. But what in reality, the reason we'd be looking at it is because heliocentrists assume that a globe Earth in a heliocentric orbital motion and occultation of these various different orbiting bodies, physical in nature, and their occultation are what create these effects, predicted in a time manner through their majesty of the globe Earth model that's derived from flat Earth measurements. Does that make sense? That's why we're looking at it. But no, we don't have any association that we would say this eclipse proves a flat Earth, because we wouldn't do that.
Yeah, right. I just wanted that to be made perfectly clear.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's have a listen.
There is something that is coming upon the Earth, something that several of us have been discussing for quite some time. Let me just start off with this, because many of you may have not noticed, but several news sources have been covering it.
Firstly, right, you need at least 2 inches between you and your mic. Put it off to one side. You've got 400,000 subscribers, right? The least you can do is learn how to use a mic properly. All I can hear is plosives and wind noise because he's literally got his lips against the microphone.
Let me just give you an example here. A strong geomagnetic storm could produce northern lights farther south than usual early Monday morning. Charged particles crashing into Earth are expected to create strong...
So grating. I'm sorry, I should be paying attention to what he's saying rather than listening to the horrendous audio quality and plosives. Get a pop filter, move your mic an inch away. What's your problem? I've said it twice, I'll try and ignore it.
Solar storm conditions early Monday morning, prompting a geomagnetic storm watch as the northern lights could be visible farther south than usual. Again. The SWPC, the Space Weather Prediction Center, is predicting the northern lights to be visible after midnight through the pre-dawn hours Monday across much of the northern U.S., as far south as Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, and Massachusetts.
Go and look at them. If you get the opportunity to go and see them, just do it. Right, book time off. Hope that you get a clear sky. Because it was majestic when it happened here unexpectedly. And my wife just told me it was being announced on Facebook, and she was like, oh, the Northern Lights are over us. Oh man, you should have seen me. I bolted out of the house quicker than you could possibly imagine the moment I heard. So, and I'm glad I did. So if you're in one of these regions, this only came out 9 hours ago, and we're live right now. So if you're listening to this, make a note and see if you can go and witness the aurora. It's one of the few times that I really was sad that I'm colourblind, because that particular bit of the majesty was definitely robbed from me.
Now, how many times have you heard this, folks? How many times this year have you heard this? Northern Lights were seen as far south as Las Vegas last week. Those up early on...
Anybody know what the aurora is?
Nope. You better not be making claims about it, or somebody's going to crack your head. I guarantee you.
Well, man, you're way ahead of me. I'm predicting that that's what's coming. There's going to be a claim made, so I just thought I'd get it on the table first.
Whatever it is, it requires a flat. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, this
Well, no. If you're going to describe the aurora, there's nothing that we're going to use. It's like rainbows, isn't it? You're not referencing it for positional data. There's nothing you're going to utilize in terms of a measurement from it. There's no practical application for it. It's just beautiful. So therefore, there's going to be no reference to flat. That was John's point, like literally 3 minutes ago. I don't know if you weren't listening.
Thursday during last week's strong geomagnetic storm, we're likely surprised to see northern lights in parts of the Northwest and across the northern U.S.
So they attribute it to a geomagnetic storm then? Okay. Because what? Is the claim of a geomagnetic storm a heliocentric claim? That is to say, it's the sun creating this through a heliocentric sky vacuum and reaching us and causing the chaos. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's garbage and unsubstantiatable, and the orbital motion of the sun as a physical entity in a sky vacuum violates several natural laws and is derived from flat Earth measurements. So this is an unsubstantiatable claim that he spewed out because it was on this Fox Weather website, presumably.
Lights were even seen as far south as California and southern Nevada.
Just in case you're failing to keep up, because we are talking quite quickly and it might not be a subject you're familiar with, what are we actually talking about? Lights in the sky seen further south. That's what we're actually talking about. That's what we're actually experiencing.
Including on the Bureau of Land Management cameras near Angel Peak.
Yes.
Nathan, just pause a second. Just so you know and other people know, this guy made a video of a flat Earth some years ago. And he was saying, so, yeah, well, show us the curve. Show us the curve. Okay, we can't, he said. Right? He actually admitted it, right? And his video was such a joke. I was literally joking in his comments section, but his video disappeared. The one video that he put up, gone, disappeared. And I asked him on one of his other videos, they're probably a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, I said, hey, Where's the flat earth video gone? No answer. Not read it.
Shocking. Well, I'm still. He's got my intrigue. I'm glad you shared this. You said it wasn't appropriate, but I'm enjoying it.
I recently uploaded a video discussing how there are cycles that we go through, seasons. Some of these cycles are small enough for us to observe on our own.
Hold on a second. I just need to write this down. Hold on. Seasons. Gotcha.
We can observe these patterns. They're not much to figure out because they are pretty consistent, just like the sun rising and setting every day. That's something that is easy to observe. And then there are massive cycles that are not so easy to observe. Cycles that exist outside of our observation in the heavens, in the stars, much larger seasons.
I don't know if Craig's listening, but again, this pure chance that this is exactly the subject we were talking about from, I think the name's, I can't remember the name of the videographer that he was showing me earlier on this morning. John Pierre, I think the guy's name was. And he was showing us this cyclical clock that's running on a 24,000 year cycle, which is what this guy's now talking about.
I know that people are curious about the idea of Nibiru, Planet X, Planet 7X, Nemesis. The hypothesis...
Hypothesis? Oh dear. So we're immediately into using scientific words. People want to know what this Sigma 17b light in the sky is. People are fascinated with this light. Yeah, they might be. Yeah, what's this light here? Fascinating. It's a light in the sky. But now we're being offered the suggestion of hypothesis construction. So before he continues, for the audience's benefit, hypothesis in the context that we're dealing with, this is the natural world. Yeah, so we're talking about natural science. When we talk about hypothesis, that's a prediction of cause when observing phenomena. So we're going to be suggesting that the phenomena are light in the sky. Depending on how he frames that, it might not even be a phenomena. It might be a concrete noun. Bit too close to call, bit too early, rather, to call. But nevertheless, it might not even be a phenomenon he's describing. But we'll grant him. We'll say the movement of this certain light, or it's a certain behaviour of a certain light, is the phenomena. Well, a hypothesis would be to suggest that you can induce that effect by varying something that you have control over, otherwise known as an independent variable. So your hypothesis will be your independent variable, supposition of cause, will cause the phenomena that you observe. That's a hypothesis. It's called a scientific prediction. Now, the way you validate it is in an experiment. That is to say, you vary that which you assume causes the phenomena and see if it causes the phenomena or not. If it doesn't, you validate your null. If it does, you validate your alternative, and that's science. That's the scientific method. But he's using these words not because he's going to actually provide a validatable hypothesis in any sort of scientific context. He's just stealing the valor of this method to suggest some empiricism to what he's about to say.
That we may be living in a binary star system.
So your hypothesis is a Nostradamus, meaningless statement that we could be living in a binary system. That's a meaningless word salad. Certainly not a hypothesis. But rather than saying, here's some meaningless word salad, because people might realise that it's just chatting garbage that doesn't mean anything. Instead, he knows he's chatting garbage. He knows he's about to spew some meaningless garbage about being in a binary system, whatever the bloody hell that means. Tripe. So what can you do? You got some tripe that you need to spew. Better to call it a hypothesis before you spew it, because then people will nod, oh, this guy's clever. What a charlatan.
That our sun has a distant companion.
This is a hypothesis, is it? No, it's just your made-up, just so bullshit. That's what it really is. The idea that the sun has a companion. All right. That's a hypothesis, is it? No.
You know, we may have reference to this in biblical scripture.
So it could be a historic speculation as opposed to a hypothesis. Now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of what it really is, but he's already stolen valor. It's just scummy.
Although we can interpret biblical prophecy in several ways,
Can you interpret a pop filter?
we may have a reference to this star in the book of Revelation.
So these
Who
guys are all the
cares?
same, right?
Who cares? Go ahead.
These guys are all the same, right? Like, before they show you what they've seen, before they give you an observation, they have to lather it up in all of this gravy. I'm like, show me what I came to see, man.
Wait, are you lathering up in gravy? What kind of weird sex life do you have? Lathering up in gravy?
A very healthy one, I might add. But that's not for the show.
Now, again, this is just one of several interpretations of the scriptures. That doesn't mean this is the case, but
we're talking about maybe a stretch, an observed phenomena, and we're applying a historic biblical standard to it.
But
God, just let me get it off my chest. This guy's got almost 500,000 subscribers. Now, as a YouTuber, this is like nails on a chalkboard to me. The guy's got a popping, overpowered, overbearing, wind noise-driven mic that he's not noticed. And he's talking utter shite. Give him 500,000 subscribers. It's just so infuriating. As a YouTuber who works his socks off. I just want to get that off my chest. Go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry. I shouldn't whinge. It's very unprofessional. Not if I'm watching. Please share the show. Go ahead, Brian.
yeah, I just want to point out, like this guy, he's just doing the same as a lot of these people do. And the reason they do it is because they don't have an argument. They don't have any evidence, I should say, for anything they're saying. So all of these kind of people who talk about space and they speculate about, whatever they speculate about, right, concerning heliocentric space. What he did there is he used the word hypothesis. He spoke about it colloquially, but because he used the word hypothesis, it instantly gave some scientific valor to it, right? But then he brought up the Bible, which is nothing to do with a hypothesis. And now he's after taking a step away from the Bible that he brought up because there could be several interpretations of the same thing. So it's becoming more and more vague and spread out and unconcentrated. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Is it the Texas sharpshooter type situation?
It started off by greasing the skids, and now he's just diluting the evidence he's actually presenting.
Yes.
this is one interpretation that you may or may not agree with. And that is that we may already have a name for this second star. According to Revelation chapter 8, verse 11, the name of the star is called
Tony.
Wormwood.
What?
Oh, it wasn't Tony. Okay, well, that was his preamble before his intro.
So funny.
Right, might as well do another call to action on the hour. We'll stay alive a little bit longer because we've only just really got into this. We'll do a few more minutes at the very least. Here's a link to his channel. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. As you can see on screen, it's WoodwardTV. And yeah, please don't give him any crap about his plosives and popping mic and lack of pop filter. Just let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get either censored by the YouTube algorithm or removed by the videographer. The idea being that in our limited capacity with far less subscribers, we are still sending the YouTube algorithmic love his way, and the hope would be that if he was to make a response video, he'd do the same for me. If he does, please please put my link in the info box below your video to help us, where we definitely don't receive any YouTube algorithmic love, in spite of us talking about facts like measurements. We're still considered flat earthers, therefore censored. So if he was to put a response out there, hopefully he'd put a link to Nathan Oakley 1980 like I'm putting towards him, as you can see going by in the live stream chat now. And hopefully that's bought enough time for some of you in the live audience to actually do this. So in a couple of previous live shows that we've done, people have not actually affirmed that they're actually going to do this. So people, if I do it 2 or 3 times, might actually think, oh, bloody hell, he won't shut up until I've actually gone and done this, because people are checking. So please do it if you are in the live stream. There's 101 people watching. Woohoo! Thank you very much for sharing the show. But yeah, please go and actually do drop Woodward TV a link and let him know that Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. We responded to your video revelation of the second son. What's with the lowercase? Revelation high uppercase of the lowercase second son uppercase. Give him 400,000 subscribers.
Listen,
Oh,
there's
great.
a good chance.
So I'm going to read something to you, and I want you to hold that idea of a second son in your head for a moment while.
Okay, I've got it in my head. Second son. Anybody seen a second son?
I think I've heard this story by a few people, and I think the claim is going to be Sirius, the star Sirius, and then what they try and claim is because over time there's sometimes Sirius star in the light in the sky seems to be red and then blue, that they put a distance to that which is further away from the sun and closer to the sun, and that's
What?
the sun's partner.
They're saying the dog star's the sun.
Not
Let me get this right. They're saying the dog star's the sun. The second son.
Sirius.
Yeah, dog star.
Yeah.
I read this. And the 7 angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound.
Go on. Was that Eli? Was it Neil?
yeah. Rock that time.
Indeedy.
The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood. And they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. And the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood. And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star.
I paused it just at the wrong moment. He was just about to say, and there fell a great star.
From heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood. And many men died of the waters because they were made bitter.
Okay. Therefore, second son. What the hell?
And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so as the third part of and her of the other. The first angel life or death was burned up. Could burn up some of the trees, but all the green grass. The key word there is green. I'll tell you what could do that. The sun can do that. The heat or radiation from the sun. You've seen it happen yourself, haven't you?
What? Yeah, I'm going to need help here. If you're talking about colours, I'm just going to be so useless. What's he babbling about?
Well, he's trying to
Scorched
get
grass.
further away from his original proof. Go on, John.
I
was just saying, you got me. I have no idea. I have no idea what he's talking about. He's babbling at this point.
Okay, that's so it's not just me not knowing what colours he's talking about, or something that the sun does that I'm unaware of with it changing green or something.
I think he's talking about grass when if it's been, sometimes the sun can scorch the grass if it's really, really hot summer, I think.
Green, green grass, blue, blue
And the
sky.
second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood.
Oh, I love the P's and S's. I just love them.
A great mountain burning with fire.
And the B's. I love the B's as well. The B's are great. The B's and the S's and the P's are my favourites.
Sounds like a meteor, doesn't it? It doesn't say that it is a star. It says great mountain.
Okay. So, it doesn't say it's a star. It says it's a great mountain. Should we send them round to commit him or what? I am so lost for words. Do other people hear this and because he's read an extra 30 seconds of scripture that I skipped through, are they just in a little trance at this point when he's saying this?
And it's not given a name. But when this great mountain hits the sea, what does it do? And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. Some of the creatures in the sea died, and some of the ships in the sea were destroyed as a result of this great mountain impact. Does that...
We all keeping track that the mountain is the star that it didn't say it was?
That makes sense?
No. No, it doesn't make any sense.
Pay attention.
Grammarly now uses AI.
It literally made no sense.
A lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of waters. Now think about this for a moment. In what other context do we describe something falling? You guys have heard of nuclear fallout, right? Radiation fallout? Actually, you guys have heard...
This guy's a complete conspiratard, Brian. It sounds like Poncho Pete, doesn't it? The star's not the mountain, but it's falling from the sky. What else falls? Fallout falls. What's next? What else fallout falls? Like waterfalls. It's just the ramblings of a deranged village idiot, isn't it, Brian? He's not piping up. He's taking no credit. He suggested this video.
About what happened in Chernobyl, right? The nuclear disaster in Chernobyl. Well,
so if she weighs the same as a duck, then she's made of wood and therefore a witch. So we can burn her. The mountain isn't the star, but it's falling like fallout.
Guess what? That word, Chernobyl, means black weed. And black weed is part of the wormwood family. And the name of the star is called wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood. And many men died of the waters because they were made bitter.
Why is nobody talking to this guy? This is what happens when you lock yourself in your basement and make YouTube videos with nobody around you to temper your stupid nonsense and go, what are you babbling about? The fallen mountain's called wormwood because of fallout and the gillyweed? What are you babbling about? Have you gone nuts? People say that we're insane.
Yeah, I couldn't come in there. My hands were wet. But it was funny that I couldn't because it's like, I told you, this guy is a complete conspirator. Like, he just rambles on, but he has ridiculous views and he has ridiculous popularity because he gives people hope. That's what he gives people. It could be hope. You might get hope out of it. That's what he's giving to people. That's why he has like 500,000 subscribers. He gives them hope through ramblings of conspiracy nonsense. Like,
it's just...
What's it?
Go on.
No, what's the guy's name on his video?
WoodwardTV.
Woodward.
WOODWARD TV.
What was
And the name
on
of
his
the
Again.
on his Flat Earth video he came out with there some years ago? Mark Sargent went in, and one of the first comments he says, "You're an agent." He says, "You're a total agent," and he is like the way he went about making the video. Like it was like an agent, and then Mark, like he never really does that, but he went in and straight attacked it, straight challenged the guy.
star is called wormwood, black weed, radiation. And the third part of the waters became radiated, and many men died of the waters because they were contaminated. Does all that make sense?
Absolutely not.
You just pulled that out of your butt.
No, it did not make any sense whatsoever. Right, we're going to spin onto some conclusions.
How
and
is he getting them dots together? I don't know.
Discover electro.
Sorry, Ad. Go ahead, Brian.
I'm just saying, how is he connecting those dots together? I don't know. It's just...
Did we skip past the hypothesis of the second son?
No, that was the hypothesis.
Oh, right.
Backed up with a load of waffle from the Bible.
Takes a long time to put these presentations together, but I will come back to the subject. I just want you to digest what I've talked about here for now. If you are in the vicinity to see the Aurora Borealis this morning, enjoy the light show. So until next time, that's all for now, and there is more to come. I will be returning to this topic again in the future, and we'll take a closer look. I do have a recommended video for the day. Watch that video. It will be linked on screen at the top.
Yeah, speaking of which, I've done my call to action, but I'll do it again now. So please let WoodwardTV know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite, non-sweary, non-abusive, non-taking the mickey out of his terrible plosives and lack of pop filter. Just a polite comment that infers that we've covered his video and you've been sent his way as a result of me doing this call to action. So if you are watching live right now, please do that. Please actually leave him a comment and let him know that I sent you. But in the meantime, a massive thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow.
A lot of views, said a lot of nothing in the story.
Sodbuster came in at the end of the live stream, says, "Hello all, what did I miss?" Didn't miss anything. Missed Globebusters, clearly.
Was there anything that come out of his mouth in that entire video that resembles a rational thought?
Yes.
Or
yes, I wrote it down.
Claim?
Yes, he said the seasons. Yeah, that was it.
That's not a rational thought, though. It's just saying the seasons. Like, what was the rational thought to do with the seasons?
You can track the seasons. And that was about it. Took the mickey out of it, going, okay, well, this is obviously complex stuff. He starts with, he did a poor job, but it's, I don't know how people get this popular when they do a poor job of, if you're going to bullshit somebody, normally you need to build up like a bit of an agreement ladder, get people nodding along, going, yes, 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 yes. And then you introduce your nonsense. So they're already nodding along, agreeing with you. Well, he did that with a few things like the seasons. And then he went into the pattern and I expanded on it based on a video literally I'd only seen today at Craig's shop about a mechanism that tracks much greater patterns. You're like, okay, he didn't mention that, I did. But then we're straight into nonsense waffle and word salad and garbage that's non-associated and Poncho Pete style connections from black weed to falling mountains that are stars. And you're like, what? Where are you getting this from? You've got a crazy imagination at the very least.
And then at the end he says, I just leave you to ponder on that. Ponder on what? Right? And then he said, I'll return to this topic. He might never return to it. Do you know what I mean? But it's out there, he might do. I just leave you to ponder on that. What? Like, what are we supposed to ponder on? How do you add in Chernobyl into that? How does Chernobyl have anything to do with
Falling
affecting
mountain,
How-
obviously. What else falls? Fallout falls, like the
And a
dillyweed.
third of the creatures died when the falling mountain. I mean, mountain. That's not a celestial body. That's a mountain.
But the celestial bodies are really big and far away. They're like mountains are big and far away. Durr.
What the hell did this have to do with the second son?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know what
Eli.
just happened, Eli. Let's just pretend it didn't.
He didn't even show us anything.
Look, just imagine. He told you to imagine. Did you not hear him telling you to imagine? Just keep. He said 2 sons. Then he told you to keep that idea in your mind. Did you not do that while he was waffling?
Nah.
Ah, you missed a step. You should have kept in your mind the idea of two sons the whole time he was babbling, and then it would have worked. The magic would have worked much better.
Yeah, it's not his fault, Eli, that you can't imagine this correctly.
Hey, QE. Hey, Adam.
Hey Nathan, there's a short vid in the Master B about the pilot. It might be word for review for after show. It's a pilot claiming you can't see the curvature from 30,000 feet, but you can see the shadow of a sunrise. It's
the Earth's flat. This is the question that just won't go away.
Let's go!
Yeah, forget the items like tech navigation, GPS, common sense, and mathematics.
Why would we forget them? They're using flat Earth. Mathematics, the GPS, using a Cartesian grid. So if we forget them, we'll be forgetting about how you navigate with respect to a plane. So what you're saying, forget those things like they should be forgotten in the mind's eye of a flat earther because we'd have to ignore them because they're proving a globe, because that's how you contextualize it. Notice how I've repositioned your seemingly clever, forget about global positioning systems because they'd, what, prove we're on a globe? Well, maybe you could tell us how before just telling us that we should forget them and just, pay attention to the name because it's got the word globe in it? We're already having issues.
I'm going to give you one simple example that you can look to as a pilot that can basically tell you that the Earth is not flat. At 35,000 feet, you can't really see the curvature of the Earth.
At 35,000 feet, you can't see the curvature of the Earth, even though the Earth curve mathematics states explicitly that the Earth curve horizon will be at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. But you can't see it. No, that's because you're referencing the horizon to establish a horizontal plane of reference and keep your nose above that horizontal plane of reference to about 2 or 3 degrees. So if Earth curve was falling away from you, you wouldn't be able to reference your plane and trim the plane to keep level flight. But you're suggesting that we should just ignore the fact that your height above the surface level at 35,000 feet would also require a flat plane of reference to describe it. It's an elevation in feet above surface level, sea level. So you've got quite a few flat Earth evidences that you're using, and then telling us that your proof that we are on a globe is that we can't see Earth curve that's claimed to be at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet off a flat plane. Well, that completely defies your globe Earth rhetoric and maths. Why would you say such a thing?
However, you can see some...
Go on.
Just a second. We have NTSB pitch data or pitch data from the and altitude data from the NTSB that absolutely support what he's saying. you can't see any globe.
Some of the effects of the curvature of the Earth. Up at
But the effects of Earth curve are described in Earth curve mathematics. Is this guy going to bullshit what Earth curve effects are now?
altitude, when you're cruising east and the sun rises...
East is a direction with respect to a horizontal plane of reference, though, isn't it?
You can see the shadow come up at the early morning when you first start to see the sun come up. You can see the atmosphere.
Sphere-shaped air, oxymoronic air in a sphere shape. No, I don't think so.
If I was to take a flashlight like this and show something flat, the shadow remains flat no matter what. If you take a ball's curve, you can see the shape the shadow bends. So if the Earth is flat, there is no possible way it can bend like this. That's because the...
Are you suggesting that what you perceive and are suggesting is a shadow above the horizon is the shadow of a curve that you can't perceive but is claimed to be measurable based on your height? So if you deny that you can see the claimed to be measurable Earth curve at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet dipping away from you and violating the principle of flight that you're utilising, you'd still have an Earth curve shadow produced from a spherical presuppositional orbital motion that's been derived from flat Earth measurements also. This is a cluster screw.
The Earth is curved and that atmosphere...
So you're saying this is Earth curve shadow bend, but the Earth that's not curving is the respect to a horizon that you can level your plane with. So we'll use this line as a reference so you can be above it and stay in level flight with respect to a height above sea level at 35,000 feet. But this hazy nonsense is the shadow of the flat line that's curved. This is scraping the bottom of the barrel.
I think this is how you introduce a false dilemma, to say that this is impossible on a flat plane, and then to give the description from a flat plane, and then non sequitur away to say it's only possible on a curve.
Sphere you're seeing up there is maybe 80, 100,000 feet up in the air, where the curve...
Right, where's the curvature when you're supposed to be able to calculate and measure it? When you calculate the difference from eye level and surface level that also are flat. So his argument is Earth curve can be seen in the form of this blue haze that's curved. It's the shadow. Are you shitting me? That's your standard? You've got Earth curve math, stick brain.
Curvature is pronounced and where you can see it. Till next time.
You can't see it. You've just told you can't see it. You're saying you're seeing the shadow of it. So you can't see it, but if I infer that this made-up garbage that I've produced on the spot with respect to a plane that I'm flying above to maintain level flight with a surface level measurement that's described above sea level, then I can infer that this claim that nobody else is making proves that we've got a spherical surface. What an absolute cluster screw.
But you missed it, Nathan.
What did I miss?
All of that he said doesn't matter, because I've heard this from pilots in the past. I can't see the curve, but I know it's there, blah, blah, blah. Gravity, blah, blah, blah. He hasn't pointed out that when you become a pilot, you learn about the lift effect. Then you fly, and due to the lift effect, you never pitch below horizontal when you're flying from A to B. Him, just like the rest of them, never ever mentioned that. So he threw a lot of rubbish, but didn't mention the thing that destroys all that rubbish. Not one mention of it. Not one mention of what the plane is actually doing. They never mention about what the plane is actually doing. They always talk about how it is curving and gravity and blah, blah, blah. Not about how the plane and what it's actually doing debunks all of that.
Did you guys just deal with the pilot? Is that what's happened?
Yeah.
Ah, dang. Did I miss him?
Well, if I don't pause it, he might copyright me. So if I just play it all the way through again for your benefit, could someone share the link with him in Discord?
Was he up here debating? Or...
Yeah.
No, we just played a TikTok video or whatever.
All right, I get you. Yeah, look, pilots fly with a positive attitude, and you can't fly around the globe without dipping the nose down. It's impossible. So these people are insane. They're literally flying like the Earth is flat and stationary, but they want to. Oh, this dude. Oh, God, sorry. This dude. Oh, okay. I got to send you guys the video. This dude made a reply to one of my videos, and I've got to post my video because it goes over everything he said. It's so dumb.
Angels, did you see the presentation on Ballbusters on Saturday?
I don't believe I did know.
Well, you have to watch that because you're focusing on flight. We produced the pitch data. Right.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And, sorry?
they had the pitch data and it was not dipping down, right?
No.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It shows we go through all the pitch data, and anyone can have it, and we verified it, where it came from, what it is, everything. All the altitude data is matching in tandem with the pitch data. Showed everything. We went through flight first, 3 different presentations on flight, 3 different sections, I should say, and then that. So I'd like you to watch that and then share it as much as you can on TikTok and X and that, if you're on that, if you wouldn't mind. But I can guarantee you will share it anyway, because there's going to be a lot of stuff in it that is exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, it was a good presentation.
It's years in the making. It took us years to get pitch data. Wolfie avoided getting pitch data for 8 years.
Where would I find this? Can someone like DM
Ballbusters,
it or
Quantum
link it?
Eraser channel. It was Saturday's live stream.
Oh,
Is it the pitch data you're talking about? The pitch data, there's a links in the live chat for the pitch data. You can go to the NTSB website and get the pitch data.
I heard QE. What? Say it again.
I was just promoting our Ballbuster show.
Oh, okay.
If you wanted to, I don't know if you guys already have, but I've got another debate follow-up, like I said, from that old 50-year pilot I debated. And I destroyed him on the attitude indicator after he came back on. If you want to have a look at that, it's pretty good
we should
because
listen to
it
that.
matches
We
exactly
were supposed to listen to that the last day. Should throw on that late, Nathan.
Hey?
Yeah, that's very good. I heard that myself. If you want to post it,
I can put it in
Angels.
I'll post it in Master, yeah?
Yeah, do, yeah. Nathan will play it.
I won't just... I'm just making a thumbnail at the minute for the live show we've just done.
Yeah, but it's Angel's video. You don't have to worry about anything.
Anyway. It's always good when someone suggests they're going to share a video and it completely kills the conversation.
Nathan, you want to do a call to action in the meantime for this video?
No. It's your show, so you add some entertainment, buddy.
He's doing a thumbnail.
I'm doing a thumbnail. Yeah, I can't concentrate on more than one thing at once, Brian.
Yes, Adam. Can you? Yes, Adam. Yes, Nathan. Can you do your call to action?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, but he's at it again. It's like trying to blame someone else for his show having day there. It's like you need to have a few stories or jokes or something, for those times.
Can you interpret a pop filter?
Oh, it does grind my gears, that though.
That was hilarious, but it caught me off guard, man. That sounds like me.
No, not at all.
Did you hear that part?
Your audio's fine, Huey. It's a little bit on the quiet side.
I did hear.
Say again?
I was listening to the video. It's usually, la la la, I'm doing other stuff, and then all I hear is, "Can you interpret a pop filter?" It got me a good laugh. Thanks.
My pleasure.
The best part for me was when he said, "Do you know what his name was?" And you went, "Tony."
This Gary guy, by the way, that you just posted, because he replied to one of my videos, I DM'd him. I'm like, dude, if you're that confident, you're flying around the globe, add me on TikTok. Here's my channel. And let's debate. I'll bring you up on the live, and we can debate about it. I think he looked at my channel and they're like, all my debates against pilots, and then he's kind of gone quiet now.
Well, you should utilize the pitch data, because it just shows. Like, how do you explain that? It's from the NPSB, reputable. You know, explain this data. Is zero horizontal? Yeah. How come there's no pitch below horizontal? You know what I mean? When you see the data, when you watch the presentation, you see.
The guy buried himself anyway. In his reply to my video, he says, "Oh, we actually fly nose up slightly, attitude of 3 degrees." Dude, you just buried yourself by saying that.
Do we have words for that? Appropriate words for that occasion?
Confessional debating.
No, we say welcome to Flat Earth.
Exactly. I don't get how these pilots, right? These global pilots are a special breed, right? How do they think by flying with a positive attitude to maintain altitude? How do you fly around a ball by doing that?
You don't.
Like if you fly, say, exactly. How do they not get that?
You know what they think is happening?
What?
In their heads, what they think is happening is, let's just say they have a 3 degree above horizontal pitch, above zero, let's just say. In their head, it's not horizontal, it's zero, right? Really. And because they think that zero is following on a horizon that's curving away and down, right? What they think is happening is that zero is dropping down. And simultaneously, because the zero is dropping down, so is the pitch of the aircraft, right? Right, dropping down. So it always stays 3 degrees above zero, right? No. If you have a 3 degree above zero pitch and that zero drops down, your pitch, the plane is not going to just suddenly follow the zero. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
If a mechanical gyroscope suddenly starts tilting down the way, does that mean the plane is so going to suddenly start tilting down the way, following the gyroscope? No. Right? Now, gyroscope's not going to do that. Zero doesn't do that. The zero doesn't go down. But in their head, the zero goes down and follows some curvature, and the nose pitch of the plane and the angle of attack of the wings, that just follows it. Like, without anyone adjusting it. There's no one adjusting this. It just does it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, are you
It's so dumb,
crazy?
dude. Yeah. It's so dumb. It's like the plane flies straight, but also curved, right? Like, okay. And then they want to bring up like shit like pendulous veins and like, dude, what does that have to do with anything if the pilot does not adjust for curvature anyway? And even if I grant that to you, what's pendulous veins? How does that help you?
No, it's not to do with anything. The pendulous veins make sure that the gyroscope doesn't. Yeah, but no, the whole point of pendulous veins, if you look at how they operate using vacuum, the whole purpose of them is that they make sure that the gyroscope doesn't start tilting down when it. Do you know what I mean? The whole purpose of them is to make sure that doesn't happen, right?
Yeah, and it's only
because they're a damper.
It's only in certain circumstances. So it's only if they're in tight turns. So if they're in a certain holding pattern, it can throw the gyro off. So they have pendulous vanes to counteract that problem if they're in very tight holding patterns. But with the exception of those really rare circumstances, the pendulous vanes aren't really doing anything because it holds its rigidity in space until you push it beyond the scope of the gimbal. Then you need the pendulous vanes if you're in a tight holding pattern.
Yeah, you know what's funny, guys? They can't even invoke it anyway because it's got nothing to do with anything like we're saying. Also, pendulous vanes was invented 25 years after the attitude indicator. So
yeah, I know.
Like, it's just that not all airplanes even have it. Why do they even bring it up?
Right.
They bring it up because it's a weighted damper, right? And so weight to them equals gravity, a force of gravity, something that was thrown out the window by Albert Einstein almost over 100 years ago, almost 110 years ago, or not, whatever. And they bring it up because they think this is something to do with gravity. So the pendulous vanes move with gravity. So that means that the gyroscope moves with gravity. And that means that because the gyroscope moves with gravity, that the whole plane decides to just follow the gyroscope. It's crazy.
It's net force zero. The way they explain it is they say that the 0 point's moving with gravity, and the gyro's referencing the 0 point, which is moving with gravity. Essentially, they're bending horizontal.
Yes.
Yeah, they're saying, right, they're just saying, like, it's tethering around a ball. But it's like, okay, hang on. Does the gyroscope maintain rigidity in space? You can't have, like, that's an oxymoron. You can't have it both ways.
No, you can't. And if it doesn't, that's one more point, just because we mentioned it earlier in the show. If it doesn't maintain rigidity in space, then it's faulty. If it's drifting, then it's got no useful function anymore.
Yeah, and if planes just tethered around a ball, technically you don't even install the attitude indicator. Then just fly. It's going to tether around.
Well, see, this is the thing about it, right? You'd only need an altimeter at that stage because the plane will just stay. Once you're holding the altitude, the plane will just do its own thing. You know what I mean? Based off of that logic, isn't it? Like the thing about it is if you look at Adam's data, right? The data Adam shows that he got with an accelerometer, he shows that the accelerometers down never changed. So all the downs were all parallel. They weren't changing because if you're flying around a sphere, then the down must change because it's to a center point. So an hour later, you can't have the same down. The down an hour later must be divergent from the down an hour beforehand. But he shows none of that happens. Right? It's all parallel downs because that's just reality.
Guys aren't.
I'm really sorry to interrupt.
Answering the question.
I just need to ask something before you do go back onto this question that's unanswered. I feel like I'm on acid or something. I've got a very heavy cold, so I do feel a bit fuzzy. And I'm writing the title of today's live show, and I just want to check that I haven't just hallucinated what we listened to, because I've called the title of the show Fallout Mountain Sun. Now, after reading it back, I think, did I just hallucinate this and have come up with that title because I'm going nuts, or did that actually have context to the show we just did?
Yeah, perfect title.
Okay, good.
That's perfect. Come on, Kiwi.
All right. Yeah, you didn't answer the question. You say, why did they bring up pendulous veins? Number one, I'd like to know who they are. Number two, why did they do it? Well, they heard it from some idiot back in 2016, and they're just trying to divert away from an ass whooping. That's why.
Yeah, okay, a red herring. It's a red herring fallacy.
Yeah, it's just a distract. Like it's
yes.
Yep.
And that idiot is called Woodfy 6020.
Just to give you props, because you pointed out, well, they've got the principle of the gyroscope being used before pendulous veins. I just square that circle. They don't. And that reminds me of when they claim that they bounced signals off the moon, but for the fact that there's a reflector there that they took with them on that trip to the moon, wink, wink, they wouldn't be able to do that. What about when they did it before they were there?
Exactly. They did it before there was reflectors even on the moon. What are they talking about, dude?
Yeah, they're talking about these.
They're morons. They go from topic to topic from what they heard, and each time they move from topic to topic, they forget about the topic that they talked about previously. It's part of their charm.
Well, the pendulous veins don't affect ring laser gyros, and there's 3 ring laser gyros on the.
Brian's still on it.
I have to say, there's 3 ring laser gyros in the inertial navigation system, and the whole purpose of them is to create an inertial plane of reference for the 3 accelerometers, right, to then record, so they can help digitally record the journey. So if they lose their GPS and their radar and everything else, they will have that inertial navigation system that they'll rely on, that will have recorded the journey and will bring them exactly to where they need to go. Right?
Angels of Light.
Yes, sir.
Now you got another answer to your question. Because if they know that there's somebody like Brian around, they'll happily bring it up.
What, the pendulous veins?
They don't tend to bring it up with me much.
Yeah, they'll happily bring it up. It'll be 30 minutes before they get back on topic again.
Yeah, I put a meme up I made right about pendulous veins. It's on main chat. Like, so
Look, there you go. They'll hopefully have you there, and then you'll do the same thing too.
All right, you global pilots,
Angel,
listen here.
Angel.
You fly straight and level over the Earth, and you never take into consideration the curvature of the Earth, and you never account for Earth rotation. You literally fly like the Earth is flat and stationary, yet you're telling me it's a globe. Now, you can cry you fly at a pressure altitude all day long, but the pressure gradient would wrap around the globe, so you'd still have to account for it. So, look at the plane here, right? And now we're going to fly all the way to the equator over here. The plane's nose, relative to where it was before, is dipped down, just as Bob the science guy is going to demonstrate.
Right, so
Right, yeah, you definitely need to watch our most recent Globebusters show.
yeah, I've got it on. Yeah, it's 2 hours. Whatever. I'm gonna watch it. Yeah. Can anyone timestamp exactly where, or maybe where the part is?
When it starts, the presentation, you'll know, just going forward and you'll see it on the screen when the presentation is down.
And by that he means watch all of it on quarter speed, so you're taking it all in.
Yeah, for sure. Because that's really important, right? How do you get away from that? Well, if the plane's never dipping its nose down in relation to the ground, it's game over.
Yes. Which it isn't, which is what the pitch data's showing. It's affirming your point, right? But at the end of that TikTok video, you're not going to present, and here's the pitch data, right? You're stating it as a fact. It's common sense, and you're correct. That's how we've stated it up until Saturday. Make sense? Now we're saying, this is the common sense aspect that a plane must dip its nose. Here's the pitch data showing it not dipping down and referencing horizontal as a plane to show it's 1 or 2 degrees or 2.5 degrees or whatever it was above the horizontal the entire time.
Yeah, but the reason they don't is not just because the Earth is a flat plane. It's because the lift effect makes it impossible for them to fly any other way. It's impossible. You can't dip the nose down because you'll start losing lift. You fall out of the sky. That's why.
The reason why you fly with the nose up and level over the Earth is because the Earth is level, you morons.
Yeah.
Not you guys, the pilots.
But the pilot from the clip that we just played on TikTok, he's justifying why we wouldn't see curve, because in his mind, rather than suggesting that curve's measurable based on Earth curve mathematics, he's saying, let's start this premise by saying there isn't any. Because that stays in line with the principles he must use to aviate. Then he moves forwards and suggests that there's Earth curve based on a shadow. You know, this is your individualistic, cognitive dissonance way of squaring the circle. But nobody else other than him is making that claim. Why? Well, he's got to make that claim because he can't square the circle with measurable curve when he starts his premise with there isn't any, because he's using the principle of there not being any to fly with.
Yeah.
I timestamped.
Like
it's
over.
Hold on, Angels of Light. I timestamped that for you in Discord.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, you'll just miss Nathan co-hosting the shit out of the show, and that's when it starts right there at the timestamp.
Whatever.
By the way, right? This pilot, the one. Sorry.
Oh, good.
This pilot that you're mentioning, this freaking what's his name, bomb gun, whatever. Like, dude, he's a reply to my video. At the end, he's like, "Oh, well, the curvature is there, but it's so minute that we don't know." Like, okay, so it is there. So that means you are having to account for curvature then, right? But if you are, it would show up on the attitude indicator.
Yeah, there's no way around this. Saying it's just so small we don't notice. No, you've got measurements of it. It's just they don't work anymore if you're aviating. If you're flying a plane, you're flying it above a horizontal plane of reference. That's it. There's no getting away from it.
Yeah, let me just lay out a few things. Lift effect, pitch data, attitude indicator, angle of attack indicator, gyroscope, and inertial navigation system. All those things refer to a horizontal plane.
A non-rotating horizontal plane, I may add.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's the next
exactly.
place to go.
If they're not going to land on the north to south runway and chase it 460 meters sideways.
Don't worry about that one. Don't worry about that. It's 2015. Don't worry about that one.
Yeah. We can now move on from that and make him think that the plane's going to moonwalk backwards going east.
Oh, don't worry about it. You could just walking backwards. That was.
I've done it before.
You want the best one, Angel?
All you need is, while I'm being rumpus by Brian, is that timestamp right there on Ballbusters. That's all you need.
That is all you need. But if you want to deal with if you want to attack the rotation using planes, the flight from London to Accra, Ghana, why is that important? Because, I brought it up before and fellas weren't listening. From London to Accra, Ghana, they're both on the same longitude line. So the plane is basically flying directly north to south. Or you can do it the opposite way around, south to north, but it's best to do north to south. Right? Now, if the Earth was rotating, right, underneath the plane, then what would happen is the plane would have to fly not 3,000 miles, but 6,000 miles, and would have to take a route that would head directly for South Asia and not for Accra, Ghana. The point would be for it to meet up with Accra, Ghana, right? 6 hours later, 6.5 hours later.
You just got to be different. You just got to be different, right?
Oh, no, this is important.
Why don't you just give him North
you're not letting me finish. You didn't allow me to get to the most important part.
Give him North Kakalaki to Los Angeles and be done with it.
No, because you're missing this. You didn't let me get to it. Because within their paradigm, right, there is no claimed, this nonsense I want to argue about when it comes to conservation of momentum. That's only east to west and west to east. It's not north, south, south, north within their paradigm. They can't claim it north to south and south to north. So that means when the plane is leaving London and flying to Accra, Ghana, there can't be any acclaimed conservation of momentum. They can't even red herring away from the problems they have with that argument in that situation, because what's happening is as the plane is flying from London to Accra, Ghana, all the longitude lines, the latitude lines it's flying over, are all getting bigger and bigger. They're becoming bigger and bigger circles, and they are moving. That means that the globe is moving at a faster and faster rate, because the claim of conservation of momentum is only east to west and west to east in the paradigm, not north to south, south to north. That means that the globe has to be rotating underneath the airplane. But yes, the plane only flies 3,000 miles over a stationary plane. See my videos on it. It's
just quick, Quantum, this video you sent me, what is that? Is that the sun? Moon?
The moon and the stars. In 15 seconds, you can destroy the entire heliocentric Baltard spinning space monkey religion. 15 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, guys, just on a quick separate note, I've taken a time lapse of the sun and it changed size 23%. So welcome to.
Oh, we already knew that back in 2016. You're like been freeze dried or doing hard time, man. It's pretty cool though.
Yeah, kind of Johnny come lately.
You know what's funny is because like you guys have done this for so long, I'm having the most fun now as you guys did back then. I can guarantee.
It's kind of refreshing in a sense. It's irritating, but it's refreshing.
I don't know. Back at the start, it wasn't necessarily fun trying to figure this stuff out. So I don't know. My desire for the channel is to forego that process that I've spent 10 years doing for people who watch. But don't get me wrong, I appreciate you going through your own journey of discovery, but I like the fact that someone could come to this channel and watch and go, oh yeah, I got it, yeah, Earth's flat, and then get on with their day, as opposed to feel the need to go into debates with people. And I've said this loads of times, but if you were to go into debates, obviously I'd expect you to study closely everything that we cover, so that you could undo the opponent's argument if you enter into debate with somebody. You should know their argument as well as your own, back to front and inside out. And that takes huge amounts of time that won't necessarily benefit you beyond the, well, now I know that we've been lied to, I know the nature of Earth and how it's measured, I can just get on with my day. You know, you don't have to worry about arguing with next man about it. But that wasn't available 10 years ago, I can tell you that for nothing.
Nathan's referring to himself because he was a believer, a flat earth believer back then.
Yeah, you'd have to say that in a derogatory way, it's true. I know you're trying to demean me for it, but I'm happy to self-confess.
No, if I was trying to demean you, I'd really put effort in.
Oh, I see.
You know these... Sorry.
That's all right, we're having a casual backhanded mates having a jab for no reason. Go ahead, Angels.
No,
I was going to say...
No, hold on. Brian was backsliding you.
He's doing the moonwalk.
Say again?
Doing the moonwalk?
No, he was backsliding you.
Yeah, that's what the moonwalk's called. The dance move that Michael Jackson called the moonwalk is called the backslide. Nobody's listening. Nobody cares. This highly important dance information is just not going to make it to air. It's like it's not even important.
I thought it was called the moonwalk.
It's called the backslide.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. It's a dance move that he called the moonwalk, but it is not called the moonwalk and existed before Michael Jackson did it. I absolutely assure you, it's called the backslide.
Prove it.
Fine, I'll dig out a video of James Brown doing the backslide before Michael Jackson.
Did he call it that?
It's called that. It wouldn't matter what he called it. Call it the bloody sun slide for all I care. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's a dance move. It's just a dance move.
That's what their whole argument is pinning on. I understand. I saw I seen James Brown do it back in the day. I got you. But but the important point is not who did it before Michael Jackson. It's what they called it. That's your whole point.
Yeah. They certainly didn't call it the moonwalk.
It doesn't matter who did it.
So you're saying that if they didn't call it the moonwalk, it's not the moonwalk? Or what? I don't get it.
There's nothing.
Why don't you give them some symbols and some sugar?
There's nothing to get here. There is no significance or importance to what we are currently discussing. It's just QE happened to say that Brian was backsliding, and I said, oh, he's doing the moonwalk, and that's now descended into, are you sure it was previously called the backslide? Yes, I am.
The fact that you actually refer to it as the moonwalk tells us that you know it's the moonwalk.
Yeah,
not the backslide.
No, Michael Jackson called it the moonwalk.
Here we go again.
Y'all are doing some numpty stuff right now.
Hey, I got a question too. Where's chocolate?
Yeah, I haven't heard it. I was only thinking that myself recently. It's like he hasn't been around for a while.
I'll call him, see if he answers. You know what? Let me call him now. Oh,
you have some sort of black person telepathy or something. Can't you just hum and he hears you?
I have his phone number. How racist.
Oh, is that how you guys do it? I always wondered.
Hey guys, do you do the old, I call it the cylindrical Earth argument? You ask them, like, how high to see the curve? And they give you a number that's really high. And then you say, oh, okay, but boats go over the curve at sea level, right? So you can see the curvature at sea level. Do you guys do that one?
Yeah, there is an argument. There is an answer to that, though, right? In the advanced section of the Earth curve maths, the left to right x-axis, I think it is Earth curvature that you're talking about that you don't see.
So yeah, this is where I'm confused, right? Because I've heard people say on a globe you'd have to be like really, really high up to even see the left to right curvature. I don't know if that's true.
They don't say it that way, though, do they? Like the pilot, they just say you can't see it at 35,000 feet. Tyson's also made the same claim.
You can't see it at 226 miles or wherever the ISS is, according to Paul Larson, planetarium director.
Yeah, it just stands in direct contrast to their Earth curve mathematics, but you're trying to square that circle by saying, well, the mathematics would infer a cylinder, right? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, look, because if they're going to claim they can't see this alleged Earth curvature, and then the horizon from 120,000 feet's flat, and then I tell them, because I do this argument, and I go, look at this. This is from 120,000 feet. If a boat was going over this line, is it going over a curve? And they say yes.
Yeah, you're gone wrong. This is completely wrong. I tried again a minute ago. The horizon is not Earth curve. End of story. So you don't need to worry about whether what's the horizon. As soon as you start talking about the horizon being Earth curve and whether how high you have to go to see it or any of that other stuff. I know you're talking about the XY plane and how on the x-axis, how come we can't see the curve, blah, 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 if there's curve on the Y, blah, blah, blah. But it's all nonsense. The horizon is not Earth curve.
Yeah, I mean, let me break it down with the diagram. It just happened to flash up on screen as this guy's going through it. So in this diagram, you've got their version of what they call the horizon. So you've got the point marked with an X and labelled horizon at the end of the bulge with the sagittar and all the rest of it, right? In reality, it's derived mathematically from this line, which is called surface level.
Nathan, Angels of Light can't see that, by the way.
I know he can't. It's for my audience's benefit.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. So there's two different horizons. There's one that's formed with the surface level, because that's what a horizon is made with, the point where the sky meets the ground or sea. So surface level is what forms the horizon, this line. But they mark it with an X below surface level when they derive that point mathematically with the difference between surface level and eye level. So when you start arguing with them about whether or not they're perceiving curve from a point of view or a vantage point that would give them a cylindrical surface because you're not seeing any x-axis curvature, then you're already into begging the question that there's a derivable Earth curve horizon mathematically inferred by a surface level measurement that's flat. So you're into begging their question for them and arguing about how their extrapolated Earth curve would function when you assume that the horizon you see is representable by that Earth curve horizon. Brian's response to it, look, there is no Earth curve horizon. That's why he's objecting to you in the way that he is, because you're begging the question for them, basically.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, because, and I agree, right? The horizon is not Earth curvature, right? I get it.
Yes.
It's not geometric. We see past it. It's optical. It changes, right? Like, it's like the black swan. It's over. It's over. I get that.
And
but you're still asking about the XY mathematically.
Yeah, exactly, Brian. So, it's kind of like you want to keep the argument going almost. Sorry, Brian, I'm kind of stealing your thunder. Go ahead.
There's a video I put in, I sent to you there tonight, Nathan. You might put it into Master B if you have a chance there. I'll go get it. It's from Rob Skiba from a few years ago.
I watched it. I watched that.
Yeah, and he brings up that point, and he's talking about the XY and that. So you see how mathematically he shows how it's wrong. Actually, is wrong from time to time. How you would have to see it in the y-axis or the x-axis if you're supposedly seeing it in the y-axis. If you want to look at that and go through that mathematically, because mathematically you should see it.
Yeah, they address
when
this.
When you have a big enough horizon, if you were on a globe.
Yeah, they addressed this. It's weird talking about this 7 years later. So when that came out from Rob Skiba, we were also covering Earth curve mathematics in the debate. And as a consequence, they added an extra section to Metabug's curve calculator called the advanced section. Do you remember this?
Yeah. Let's slide a refraction bar up.
No. No, we're talking about the advanced tab. We're not talking about what you normally see. It's hidden. Not in the sense
is this Walter Bisnell?
about Walter Bislins. At the time, Walter Bislins didn't really exist. It came into existence while we were debating this because of the argument for perspective. So Walter Bislins' calculations suddenly took a major change in terms of how they presented, with a perceived idea of having perspective in one of the views that he gives you. But that's a different story. This is pre-Walter Bislins graphical representations of perspective and all that sort of stuff. This is before that. But in the metabunk calculation, which is the one we were using at the time, there was a section that's called advanced. It just says advanced, and it's like a drop down that you can click on, and then it gives you this extra set of calculations that gives you x-axis calculations in the field of view of a camera. You've obviously not seen it, but this was a direct address to things like Rob Skiba and us, covering it in the way that he's covering it in a more methodical way than we're yelling at each other about this. He's breaking it down in a very calm manner, which is probably why his videos ended up with 90,000 views and mine ended up with 800. But nevertheless, we were debating about it at the time that he's covering it. So it's just fascinating to know the chronology of how things like the advanced Earth curve tab came into existence, and Walter Bislin for that matter.
Yeah, I don't get near Walter Bislin because he tries to fraudulently add in perspective. I won't have that to do with him.
Also, that Walter Bislin calculator is the dumbest thing. Like, slide this refraction bar up to a refraction that doesn't even exist, and also make the radius value 39 million miles.
You probably don't. Hold on. I just want to. You probably don't appreciate why that exists, right? That is as a consequence of what we did. So while we were covering the calculations, these additions were made as a result of some of the observations that were being debated about at the time. So while we're pointing out, at the time, Anthony's at the stage where he's saying things to the effect of, if you did include perspective, there'd be a double dip. There'd be the calculable Earth curve and the perspective view based on angular limitations. You'd have both. So you'd have to calculate in both. So this is the stage we're at in the debate when we're just getting to the stage that we realise that Earth curve itself is a hijacking of perspective. We're just on the cusp of realising that. And then Walter Bislin introduces this perspective view to his calculations, as Brian calls it, a fraudulent view, because it's not doing it in mathematical terms. It's literally just a view in the in the calculator, like a 3D rendering. It's just complete garbage. It doesn't have any angular resolution to represent, but he's put it in anyway. But the point is that those are as a direct consequence of us covering the subject at the time. You know, and we would at the time describing it as like what I called at the time the heliocentric smear of bullshit, like a crack in the pavement that you need to fill in. And the filler was things like Walter Bislin and the advanced tab in the Earth curve maths from Metabunk.
Didn't Metabunk put a statement after the Black Swan came out? Didn't they put a statement in that you shouldn't really take a closer look at these things that are over water?
Yes, yeah, that was like a disclaimer, like they put an asterisk underneath the calculations that were saying it wasn't accurate over water. Like, where the friggin' hell else are you supposed to take these observations to fraudulently claim that we're seeing a side view of our own head when we take a camera view with optics? You know, how can you even make a claim that this is even functional if you've got this as the disclaimer? But it was there as a result of the Black Swan and nothing else. You know, that's why it was there.
Have they taken out surface level or eye level yet from the calculation?
No, they're fundamental, aren't they? You can't take them out. That's the point.
Am I allowed to speak? I just want to say, yeah, there's no way they can take them out, but that was hilarious. Good to see you, Nathan. Sorry, I'll shut up.
No, you're absolutely right. It's fundamental. If you're going to describe your height above sea level, if your calculation is based on 1.2 times the observer's height in feet, then you need the surface level to derive that with. It's the starting point.
Yeah, everything's still in Metabunk. I just pulled it up after years and years and years. It has in red, note, not accurate for observations over water very close to the horizon, unless the temperature and vertical temperature gradient are accurate.
Wow.
Yeah, but they can't you made a good point, QE, that I've been using now. They can't invoke gradient when talking horizontally, looking over horizontal, because that's not a gradient, right?
Yeah, yeah. A horizontal gradient. Show us that.
Yeah. It's so dumb. It's so funny.
Shout out to Adam.
Dude, I had a debate with someone on TikTok the other day. I'm like, you know, the gradient you're referring to that's bending light, that's vertical, right? It gets less as the higher up you go in altitude. He's like, yeah. Okay, I go to him, well, we're looking horizontal. So that's the same density, right? He was like, he's like, never heard that argument before.
Even in their fairy tale refraction, they don't even know what refraction is. That definitely doesn't have anything to do with their fairy tale atmosphere. Even then, if you go down, if you keep on going down the trail, like Brian likes to do, then you all of a sudden come to the horizontal gradients.
Yeah. So not only can they not invoke refraction, they can't invoke a gradient.
Most of their refraction, if refraction actually existed in their paradigm, in their fairy tale shroom-induced paradigm, most of the refraction would be like when you're looking up at an airplane, like at a 45-degree angle. That's when most of the refraction should take place because of the vertical gradient.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or looking down at that 45, right? Because you're going through their quote unquote, I hate using that, finger sticks gradients, because then you actually have some gradients, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But
You're
you don't
looking
see it
through
there.
a gradient by looking vertical.
Yeah, but whistling past the fact that you need, for Snell's law to apply at all, you'd need two different mediums.
Yeah,
No,
we
you
said,
need a globe to exist for any that's not
we said save for that, Nathan.
Oh, did you? I didn't catch that. Sorry.
Yeah.
But we're going to give them vertical. They can have vertical.
No, they can't have vertical.
No, so like, yeah, I've been bringing that up too, right? Because I learned that off QE. Like, so the reason the light bends, if I'm not mistaken, is because it's going through the boundary of two mediums and the speed of light changes. That's what bends it, either up or down, right?
Oh, somebody watched the video.
Well, actually, yeah, and I read the just the thing on the definition, right? Like it makes it's easy. It's so like it's simple.
Yep.
I don't get how these globers don't know these things. I don't get why I have to point to a.
Well, they've gotten trained for decades in the educational system and otherwise all the other propaganda that oxymorons, one word then the next word just being completely, nonsensical, that it's like it's a natural sentence for them. So for them it's absolutely not, you don't even question it. So it's like, what Nathan was saying, it's a fundamental. So it's like, no, you cannot question that. It does not have to make sense. That's the definition, even if it's paradoxical.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. It's like
it's hilarious when you get into a fight with them, and then they'll just throw their hands up. Grown ass people throw their hands up and either call you a racist or just cry and then run away, and you're like, oh, okay, all right, there's that. So
yeah, gyroscope maintains rigid in space. No, it doesn't when wrapping around a ball.
Yeah, the gyroscope remains a fixed frame of reference, right? It's got to have that frame of reference. The frame of reference has to be a plane to reference it.
Yeah, and when you're describing the deviation at 15 degrees from that plane of reference, you need a flat earther to do it, because you're going to be defying a principle of the motion of the gyro. So you can't have a globe earther doing that. You need a flatty to do that, because it's stupid. That's where Bob Nodell came in.
You know what I freak out about too? The globers, even pilots I've debated on TikTok, they don't even know the east and west circles. Like, they don't know that. They don't know that you have to turn the plane to fly east. They don't know that. I'm baffled.
That sounds like a all-encompassing, baseless assertion. And a stereotype. Don't do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, the only thing you can take away from it is I'm in the south. So technically, if we're on a ball and I'm flying east, I need to turn right on a ball, but I'm turning left. So welcome to Flat Earth.
Well, how do you get north, south, east, and west? How would you measure that?
That was literally about what I was about to say. Yeah, sorry. Yes, right.
With a horizontal instrument called the compass.
It sounds like all roads lead to Flat Earth, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'd much rather hear that as a statement slogan, Kiwi, than "Welcome to Flat Earth." It's gotten played out, and bad people use it.
It's actually my book title.
Wait,
and we
welcome to Flat Earth.
Welcome to Flat Earth.
No, all roads
and
lead.
we started Welcome to Flat Earth also. So
No,
they're
all
both
roads
ours.
lead to a flat Earth is the book title.
Oh, okay. I was going to laugh so hard. I thought this Welcome to Flat Earth.
It's not a bad title.
You can put it as like a subtitle.
I'm glad I came up with it.
Maybe after every flat smack in the book, you put Welcome to Flat Earth at the end.
You ain't gonna let me get away with that, are you?
No, that's fine. The book was called Housekeeping, and then the title changed.
I did not.
But I can't remember who gets credit for it.
Talking to you. Always rumpusing me. I did not come up with that phrase, by the way.
But technically, you were co-hosting him, Kiwi. I was listening.
Oh, God. Did I do a good job?
Very good.
Yeah, especially afterwards when you accused him of doing it to you.
That was perfect.
It was also a red herring away from the fact that you had claimed to do something that you didn't do.
Yeah, it was a
Does
cluster
he
screw.
backslide me?
Anyway.
Just on a side.
One more time.
Did you said you were snorting psilocybin? Okay, back to the Angels of Light. Hold on a second. Back to the Angels of Light post at 48 minutes after the hour. That is, I wrote beneath it, that's how you destroy the rotation of their Baltard and also destroys their entire heliocentric Baltard spinning space monkey religion in 18 seconds. You understand why?
Okay. So that's the moon and the star. Okay. So. Okay, the sun should be
moon. Moon.
Wait,
Stay with me
moon.
now.
Okay.
Moon. That's a moon.
Okay, that's a moon. So I don't know why I'm not getting this.
It's inertial reference frame, moon, and star rotation. So it's real easy. We have a drone that's hovering. That means it doesn't have any acceleration in any direction. It's in the inertial reference frame. And according to the Baltard spinning space monkeys, the moon and the stars are moving because the Earth is rotating. But if you're untethered to the Earth, then as soon as that moon moves and the stars move a smegging centimeter, the entire heliocentric Baltard spinning space monkey religion implodes.
Yeah, like letting go of a helium balloon at the equator doesn't. The Earth doesn't rotate under it.
It's not like anything. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Yeah, like if you're gonna claim Coriolis or Earth rotation underneath anything, then if I hover a drone or a helicopter for 20 hours, it's gonna rotate underneath it.
Welcome to 2016. Thanks.
I was gonna try.
The cheek of it.
Yeah.
Little cheeky bastard, ain't I?
Hey, guys, I got Bob the science guy. I said to him, if we have a spinning merry-go-round and we put a drone above it, will the merry-go-round spin under the drone? You know what he said? He goes, the drone will match the merry-go-round and fly around in circles. I got him to
Every
say
single
that.
time they
The
say
guy's
that.
an idiot then.
I got him to
Well,
say that. I'm
I
not
think
kidding.
you. I think you meant Bill, the science guy, but there's a few on Discord. Yeah, dude, I had to listen to that at like 2 a.m. and when I was living in the U.S. still, and it was like nauseating with him and lunatic for like 3 hours talking about what are you talking about with this merry-go-round, and it actually ended up being hilarious. But yeah, that's a good point. They will argue that the drone does a lot of things. It's never consistent, but it might match the speed. But most likely, they're just going to blame a hurricane and say that no, it does all these other things that prove you wrong, and then move on. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's on the main text chat if you want to see.
How'd you know it was food?
You have to play that. You have to play that. I was just about to ask you.
No, it's not how you knew it was food. How did it know it was food? What the hell?
But how did it know to be? How did it know to be food? I mean, if you ever wanted to give anyone a clip that details the level of craziness you're dealing with in your opposition, that is it.
Oh, I got loads more, but we're gonna be going through them on QE Live. Might do it tomorrow. We're gonna take a trip down memory lane to
I missed you. I missed you, Quantum. Whoever you are, me and Turquoise both. Of
course. Who wouldn't?
From the UK.
Who wouldn't?
I hope. Right. Well, classic, right? Yeah. So, yeah.
And you said you don't live in the US anymore. What country you live in now?
Hell no.
Oh, where did you go to?
Hell no. Is that a country?
No, I moved to the UK.
Did you?
I mean, obviously the government's been tethered for the entire duration of the US as a nation. So that aside, I love the food quality over here. It's enough for me to stay.
Loyalist.
But there's other reasons for me to love it here. But yeah, I left. I don't miss it. I went back last month.
What's it?
I don't miss it at all. I went back for a few weeks last month, and I don't miss it at all. Actually,
I said, however, I'm trying to rumpus you. Yeah, but the men are all wusses over there.
The men are what?
Wusses.
What's it? Oh, don't put me in that.
I'm not putting you in anything. They're wusses.
Are you telling me you don't miss F-250s?
I don't at all, because if it's being run by corrupt everyone's that don't spend any money appropriately, I don't care what the hell military is. None of it is smart. So none of it's peaceful, and none of it's on my bag. None of it feeds me right over there. It's like, no, I'm good, fam. I'm good. So
I understand. So the King and Queen of England, the Queen of England is not corrupt.
no, I mean, she was a Satanist too, just like the king, right? With his weird red painting, but nobody really acknowledges the king here, which is great. So I think more people in the US acknowledge that shit than we do, or than UK does. But
we do. Wow,
obviously it's the same plan, blah blah blah. Obviously it's the same plans, blah blah blah, for the world people, the shadow people. I'm not gonna say the term, but obviously, but I much prefer eating better food over here than even with the weather being different.
You already said that. I don't believe you're over there. You already said that. I don't believe you're over there. Hold on. Hold on. I don't believe you're over there. Say water.
Water.
Yeah, I knew you weren't there.
Yeah, it should be different.
What are you talking about? Did I say water? Is that what you're asking? What are you saying?
Yes.
Oh, you're asking me to do it in an English accent. Okay.
I knew you were lying when you said you didn't miss F-250s.
I don't miss them.
What about Crown
They
Vic?
did nothing did nothing to improve my life as an
You
American.
better
So what am I going to?
hold on a
What
second.
am I?
Let me just tell you, if you say something bad about a Crown Victoria, we're gonna fight. Just saying.
I won't. I mean, my dad used to fix military planes. I'm not gonna be an asshole. I'm just saying, I don't miss the state that it's in. I don't miss it, and I don't miss the food quality. That's literally all I was saying. So
Hey,
I was just joking. I'm just joking. Sure.
I
say
would never.
aluminum.
I have utmost respect for military of any country, to be quite honest. So my thing is, no, the quality of life here I find a lot better suited for me. So
I think you mean aluminium.
Hey,
aluminium. Just add an I. Yeah, sure. Go Top Gear, right?
Say schedule.
Schedule.
Nope.
You're not over there.
She ain't there. She ain't there. No.
No, they do say schedule. It's weird. It sounds like a non-word. That is funny. That is funny.
Okay, main text chat, guys. Look at this.
I haven't been paying attention to what NASA's been putting out at all. But I gotta say, more people are questioning that, just like more people are questioning all the other things that were illusions in all the countries, you know? So I hope people are starting to question.
What part of the UK did you move to, if you don't mind me asking? I'm not looking for your address, just what area?
Above London.
North London. North of London. Reading kind of area.
Yes.
Yes.
No, just above London, because London is like the southern half of the country. So
Yeah, it is. London. Yeah, it takes up a bit of space. So you're about 100 miles away from me there, or less.
yeah, I like being able to buy Irish butter that's grass-fed butter, and it's way more expensive in the States. And I spend like 25% of what my mom pays for a stick of butter over there for the same brand. And I'm like, oh man,
Kerrygold, is it?
Yeah, of course.
I have to say, I was in Whole Foods in California, and I was shocked at the price of Kerrygold. It's like, wow.
I used to manage a Whole Food in the supplement section, the whole body section in Ohio. So Whole Foods is shocking. I know it's terrible. But yeah, that'll shock anybody.
I loved it, but the price of that Irish butter was like, wow, they're really robbing people. I think it was like $6 or $7 or something.
Anything that's healthy naturally, the FDA is just going to ban or charge you that you can't afford. So there you go. That's their solution the last decades or so. So yeah, it's ridiculous.
Well, I don't know if it means that to you, but I was only in the US a couple of times, and I miss F-250s.
Okay. I mean, beautiful machinery. So, the trucks. Yeah, the trucks. Absolutely. Ford F-250 is what you meant, right?
Yeah, or the big the big trucks, the Chevys, the American things, the Crown Vic.
Well, even the Ford,
the big roads.
But I'll tell you, my landlord here has a Ford truck that is not an F-250, but it is not a Ranger. It's in between, and it runs better because it's not made for American product. You know what I'm saying? It's not made. It's just better. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, the petrol prices here are weird, but everything is more efficient. Even like the size of the living spaces. It's like sorry, it just is more efficient. So I'd rather you like an F-250 than like some weird souped up Dodge 450 Hemi, something with like 8 tires that you don't need, and being a menace on the highway, scaring other small cars. Because I used to have a small car. I left my car in the States. I said, screw that. I don't care. I'm leaving. Do what that will with my credit. But yeah, man, F-250s aren't bad. Ford actually invented the 40-hour work week. So, I can't really complain. He did a lot of things for America.
Got a rebel on our hands here, it sounds like.
Yeah, I just love the big trucks, even the Chevys, any of them. Now, I don't like the ones that are over the top, that they literally make into half of a monster truck. I mean,
Well,
you
those
go,
are like ego.
but that's America. What can I
We call
say?
those ego compensators. We call those ego compensators, or like small man syndrome cars, and then they're pretty apparent by all the traffic tickets that they have. You know, so it's like,
I got a small.
but
I have a small car. So am I good?
you're good. But anyway,
All right.
Kiwi, you always know what's going on with NASA and all this other crap. But I feel like there is an awakening happening on like a multitude of levels, including the shape and scope of the Earth happening. That was like my point. I'm enjoying it from the UK. That was my point. I'll shut up.
I'm sorry.
The only way to
I'm
recreate.
asking you a load of questions. So shut me asking you. I'm just kind of messing around here.
The only way to recreate a vacuum is with a container. The vacuum of space is not contained.
Well, that was kind of random.
Yeah, the Asians point to elbow in or a crowbar in something.
We're talking about engines. Suck, squeeze, bang, blow. You need a good vacuum.
The only way to have gas pressure is with containment.
Bang, blow. Engines, that sounded like something else.
He's just trying to get us back on topic because we've wandered off into weed.
I just now got the joke. Well done. So,
Like, Nathan, if you wanted put in Master B, that 50-year pilot again, it's pretty entertaining at the end. Not gonna lie, if you want.
We'll cover it tomorrow. I'm going to round out shortly, to be honest.
No, put it on. Put it on, Nathan.
Oh,
You didn't
you've
put it
set
on the
Brian
last
off now,
day either.
Angels. Look at you. Look at what you've done.
Yeah, but that's because you've been holding it. We've been waiting for you to play that for the past
No, you haven't.
45 minutes.
No, you haven't.
So yeah, we have.
No, you haven't.
You don't know what I've been thinking in my brain.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll have a look tomorrow.
Well, apart from the Earth being flat.
Just play it, man.
This how Pythagoras and Aristophanes gave us the flat.
No, not that. The thing that Angels put in earlier with the pilot.
We covered it earlier.
The 50-year pilot or whatever.
We covered it earlier.
We didn't play that. That wasn't that. That was a different clip from a different pilot. We didn't play this.
Okay. I can give it to you again if you want.
Something to look forward to.
Something to look forward to.
No, we don't. We shouldn't have to look forward to it. It should just be happening now.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to teach you about delayed gratification, I think.
This video or this because Angels put that in, I think 2 other different times, and you didn't play it.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's only about 4 minutes, but yeah, it's pretty bad at the end. I welcome into Flat Earth a few times.
Which one is it? Debate with 50-year pilot, right?
Yeah, that's the one. So that's the follow-up to where the other one you played, remember, so basically he comes back on and then he starts
during that.
So now that
I'm going to go slightly nose down, just very slightly. 8 inches over that 1 minute, over that mile. At that point, my plane is now pointing maybe 1/4 of a degree nose down to what it was when it started. So the next mile I'm starting with that already sloping down.
Okay. We got it. So
Okay.
your plane was here, and it's going to end up here.
Yes.
Does your artificial horizon change 90 degrees?
I've already told you I don't know how the AH works. I haven't had the chance to read it.
But you agree that if you were to fly this distance, the artificial horizon would flip upside down, right?
No, I agree that if you had a basic...
Dude, you said it before, dude. You agreed with me before that if you were to fly the plane, you said...
See, you don't listen to what I'm telling you. I said, in theory, I agreed with you.
Exactly.
But I had to go and read to find out why it doesn't. That was my words.
Great. So you agree with me that if you fly the plane from here and then end up upside down...
I agreed with you in your theory.
1 second. Yes. So the attitude indicator should change orientation. Correct? Around the globe?
No, it won't. It doesn't.
Yeah, because the Earth's flat.
If
because the Earth's flat.
if you had a $10 gyroscope from Toys R Us sitting on your dash, yes, your theory is 100% correct.
Okay, but even the
but it's probably a $10,000 instrument.
Correct. So
that has some mechanism to adjust for that. I'm not sure what it is.
So it's very sensitive, right?
So money makes a difference. Interesting.
Yes.
Great response.
Yeah, yes, the cost of the
and I went to so many Toys R Us's as a kid. None of them had that kind of scientific stuff. They only had like be a chemist and see the stars section of that category. That's funny. That was funny.
What? Yeah,
just to add, right?
It makes sense. Hold on. We do have examples of this. Imagine like a Tesla. You know, for you, the common man, it just drives around on the ground, and you know the tires are in contact with the road. But if you spend $20 bazillion on that exact same Tesla, you can put it in orbit. It's all just a question of money.
Oh, you're funny.
So just to add, right, real quick. So that pilot beforehand admitted to me he never takes into consideration the curvature of the Earth. Like he said, no, we never have to adjust. Now he's saying, yes, we always adjust. After I showed him that he absolutely would have to adjust on a globe.
What he said was, there's some sort of method.
I respect the fact that you actually recorded that. I respect the fact that you actually recorded that, because I've talked to so many pilots over the last 5 or so years, and I've been like, enjoy the flat Earth. They're like, thanks, you too, man. Like every single time. But I never like prodded them on this, or the angle in which their nose is always tipping, you know. But I should have. So you kind of inspired me there for my next trip back to the US. Thanks for that.
So what he's saying is,
literally,
yes, we do. He's saying we do have a mechanism in the very expensive gyro that will account for the fact that we're not accounting for curvature. The gyro will automatically account for that non-accounting of curvature. But in theory, if you just had a cheap gyro and you put it on the dashboard of the plane, then yeah, in theory, it wouldn't deviate from its horizontal spin, and you know your theory would prove true. But you haven't accounted for the very expensive gyros that have an account for that not happening. That's what he's arguing.
Yeah, and he's literally arguing now that yes, he does adjust all the time, when literally he conceded within like the first minute of my other debate, just minutes before, that he never adjusts.
No, he's not saying he adjusts. He's appealing to the expensive gyro, making the automatic adjustment. He's just not technical enough to know how it does that, and he hasn't looked into it yet.
Right. It's always the grade of the equipment, so I can end this conversation now without giving away any information. Right.
Yeah,
and appeal to technology. That's all that is.
I'll look up how the equipment does answer this problem, because I can't answer it. And yes, at this point of the argument, Earth would appear to be flat, but there is an explanation for it. I just haven't looked into it yet.
I think he must be adjusting for eye level over surface level.
Perhaps. Any more to this?
No, you can keep playing.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Will the whole aircraft rotate around that gimbal base? The gimbal base of the plane attached to that gyro, will it rotate around the whole thing?
Sorry, explain that again.
The artificial horizon. Okay.
Yep.
It's attached to the plane, right?
Yes.
Great. So
the casing. Yep.
1 second. So it's straight and level here. It's attached to a gyroscope that maintains rigidity in space. The gyroscope is still going to maintain its position, and it's going to. When we're here now, is the artificial horizon going to be upside down?
Where you went wrong there is you said it will maintain its rigidity, and obviously it doesn't. If it was a simple gyroscope, yes, you're correct, but it's not a simple gyroscope.
Okay, even if I grant you it doesn't maintain rigidity in space.
Why would you grant him that? Then it's broken.
Okay, the reason why is because obviously it does, right? But I just want him to concede and say the words, right?
No, you shouldn't have gave that up. That's too stupid.
Yeah.
Well, I get it.
He sounded like some snobby PM over here.
No, it'll still look exactly the same as it did when you took off.
Welcome to
Hang on, you're missing the good thing.
Nathan, will you stop playing the video?
I think if everybody talks over the top of the video, you're pleading with me to play. That'd be wonderful.
If you keep on playing the video when people
Well, what do you want? You've pleaded with me to bloody play it, and now you're moaning that I'm not playing it not long enough.
Maybe if you don't do that, if you leave people speak like she was doing, and then play the video, it would be a lot better.
Oh, I see. Just playing it's not good enough.
No, it's not.
If it was a simple gyroscope, yes, you're correct, but it's not a simple gyroscope.
Okay. Even if I grant you it doesn't maintain rigidity in space, will the artificial horizon be upside down here?
No, it'll still look exactly the same as it did when you took off.
Welcome to Flat Earth.
Welcome to technology of a complicated gyroscope.
But even your plane that you flew in the 60s wouldn't do it.
Wouldn't do what?
It would still be straight.
We had a 2-hour range.
Okay.
2.5.
Didn't Twat say that he didn't have any of this stuff in his plane? So how would he know how this stuff works?
No, I didn't say that at all. I've flown many things. I've flown 737s. They would have that.
Great. You flew your 737 across the globe, correct?
Nope.
No. Oh, how far?
Australian Air Force 737.
How far did you fly a plane? What's the max distance you did? From where to where?
3,000 miles, Sydney to Perth.
Do you know how much curvature is in 3,000 miles, sir?
Nope.
Do you know how much is in 10 miles?
Nope.
All right. In just 10 miles, it's 66.6 feet. A 6-story building. In 10 miles.
Okay.
You just said you flew 3,000 miles, and the artificial horizon did not change your orientation, right?
Correct.
Welcome to Flat Earth.
Welcome to complicated gyroscopic.
Yeah, you can repeat yourself, but
so can you. All right, I'll go. This is pointless.
Welcome.
I just wanted to point out that I tried to explain it. You didn't want to understand, and then
what did you try and explain, Dumbo pilot? Complicated gyros that you don't understand and would have to look into. You tried to explain it as a handwave dismissal because you didn't look into it, hadn't looked into it, and need to look into it in the future. You've tried to explain that to him. What, that you should respect his authority while you go off and look at it? No, mate. What a wanker. How dare you?
Well, he tried to explain to him that gyros do not hold their plane of reference. So they're useless. Gyros are useless.
That was great. Sorry. That was so great.
Go on, John. Say that again.
I mean, if you're going to accept that a gyro does not keep a fixed plane of reference, they are useless. Why would you put them in a plane?
Exactly.
You wouldn't.
Yeah, it's like the whole purpose of the wheel is so we can use it to move things. You know what I mean? It's like, no, doesn't do that. That's not what it does. The wheel is not a wheel.
What he's saying is, your conclusion is outrageous. This is what the pilot's saying, because you haven't accepted my handwave dismissal based on a defiance of this principle that must be adhered to. I haven't looked into it yet, but you just won't accept that which I have not yet looked into and would defy this principle. He's taking the hump with you. It's just absolutely outrageous. It infuriates me that he could treat you this way at the end of the discussion. All right, well, I'm leaving then.
Well, yeah, he gets angry, and I say, well, you know, you just got flat smacked. I told him he was being rude in that at the end. Yeah, so.
Sure. So that's why I don't normally join Flurf Lives. You invited me into a respectful conversation.
Well, now you're being rude, so now I flat smacked you. So now go back to your...
Bye.
Tell him how you got
He's
flat
nosing down. Keep nosing down, you're going to crash.
Can I see the picture from Twad?
Yeah, ironically, the guy in the background who said, keep nosing down, you'll crash. Yeah, like in this diagram. There's no void opening up ahead of you, otherwise there'd be empty space to fill as you descend.
Does that mean pressure?
No, because
What does he mean by...
the pilot's So the pilot's saying, "Oh, I would have to nose down now." So the guy in the background goes, "Yeah, keep nosing down. You're gonna crash."
Yeah, and he's right.
Oh, crash. Okay.
Yeah, he's saying you'll crash into the ground. If you're nosing down, you're descending towards the ground. Well, if you've got on a globe, you're going to have to nose down to account for the curvature.
Crash. Yeah, no, I completely agree. 100%. I thought you said, or otherwise you'll crash. And I'm like, is that pressure? Is that, I get it. So crash. Okay.
Yeah, crash.
But yeah, hell yeah, they'll crash.
Is he indicating then that level with the gyroscope is only there so to prove that you're keeping your hand steady?
With hand steady with what?
Well, if the gyroscope remains level in that view, then that means your hand's steady and level.
No, they trim the aircraft. So once they're in straight and level flight, they have to adjust certain surface areas on the plane so they don't have to pull back on the yoke the entire time. If you ever see the inside of a plane, once they're in level flight, you'll see these little wheels that look like, if it was a car, it would be the central column. Well, there's like two wheels either side that will spin randomly. And what that's doing is it's trimming the aircraft so they don't have to constantly pull back to raise the nose up slightly to maintain perfect level flight. They trim it. So they don't have to hold anything. Once it's trimmed, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. By the way,
so if it's level, then all he's doing is holding his hands steady, surely, because it's not indicating where the plane's going. In his rhetoric is what I'm on about.
Oh, they're not even holding the things. When at cruising altitude, the plane more or less does its own thing. They don't have to hardly do much at all. When they're on autopilot.
Right. What does level mean, though?
Parallel with the surface.
Is the plane going round, down, or is it flying level? Well, if he says he's flying level, but going round, then obviously the instrument has only got one purpose, and that's to say my hand is holding the plane level, steady.
Yeah, I see what you mean now. Yes, exactly. He has to redefine the principles he's using to describe how he flies in order to hold his globe belief. And when it gets to the point that he cannot deny it, he tells his opponent that it's unreasonable to be like this, and this is the reason he wouldn't come into Flurf forums, because at the end of the discussion, he said, I can appeal to a defiance of gyroscopic motion if I looked it up, and you just won't accept that. How dare you?
Which doesn't exist.
Yeah, he's defying the principle. He's saying, I'll have to look it up. There's something magical in this box that isn't a 50 pence or $10 Toys R Us gyro. Therefore, I need to look into what the expensive gyro has that defies gyroscopic principles. You're like, what are you babbling about, you idiot? You've just lost. That's all that's happened here.
Yeah.
We've got Russian Mike, a Glober, who wants to say something, I think.
Also, he's breathing down his mic. Very irritating.
Well, you were like 600 times.
He's just sat off mute, breathing down his mic while he's listening to you. Heavily.
Oh.
The pilot guy we were just listening to is constantly breathing down his mic with his mic wide open. So all you can hear is while Angels is talking.
You know, some of us are asthmatic. It's okay, but that was funny. I get it.
Some of us are asthmatic.
Right. Well, in his defense, he was probably hyperventilating once he had to disclaim gyroscopic motion.
So I'll let it play out.
You're breaking up, Sydney.
Yeah.
More efficient.
So, Russian Mike. Hold on a second. Russian Mike is in here, right? Did somebody say Russian Mike?
Yeah, Russian Mike. He's trying to say something.
Yeah, can you hear?
Okay, go ahead, Russian Mike. I'm co-hosting the shit out of this. Go ahead, Russian Mike.
Russian Mike.
Hold on. You guys hear Russian Mike?
No.
I don't think they can hear you, Russian Mike.
Drop and rejoin. Tell him to drop and rejoin.
So we've got some chaos going on it. Nathan, we've got some chaos going on here. I don't know what's happening. Russian Mike.
Yeah, you're part of it.
I was going to say something, but there is so much attention to me. Please be quiet and let me continue. So, for you to understand that the airplane doesn't have to dip down every time, every 15 minutes or so, because it's like a car going around a hill. You don't think that a car going around a large mountain or hill has to dip down its.
I get it. Okay.
You get it. Okay.
Yeah, I get it. 1 second. Can you just define rigidity in space, please?
Rigidity in space. What does
do you know what that is? Okay, yeah.
I don't.
Okay. Why are you talking about planes if you don't know what that is?
I'm talking about airplanes.
You're going to teach us how the airplane works.
He isn't, though. He's talking about
You don't know what
cars.
that is.
Cars have got a
I have
ground
been
to be
talking
attached
about
to.
airplane and the physical principle.
No, it's not the physical principle. Russian guy, Russian. You've talked about our car. Guy, stop. You've talked about how our car attaches itself to a road. That's not how our plane works. There's no road to attach to. It's just garbage. You're just talking nonsense.
I'm not talking nonsense. That's what you were saying.
Okay, show me the hill that the wheels on the plane attach to in midair.
Oh, okay, it's a density. Air, the air has density.
The airs aren't hills. The air is not a hill. The air's not a hill. Shut up. Shh. Dunce. Shut up.
Tell me to shut up.
Yeah, because you're a dunce.
You're rude. You're being very rude.
Dunce. There is no hill in the air. Air pressure's not a hill. You're just stupid. I'll say it again. You're just stupid.
It's an
cars and how they move on the road when they're physically attached to tarmac. You're just rumpusing me, asshole. Yeah, I'll call you a dunce because you are. Now shut up.
Principle.
Shut
I'm trying to explain the principle, and
he's just waffling the friggin' principle through the top of me. Shut up, Russian.
This guy needs to be kicked.
You telling me to shut up because you're not satisfied? You don't agree with my idea.
You're a moron!
It's a very
You're a moron.
point.
And I'm calling you a dunce and you won't shut up. I'm calling you a dunce, pointing out why you're a dunce, and you won't shut up while I do it. You're still talking, dunce.
Position.
Shut up.
Shutting up the opponent is a very
shut up or I'll shut you up, dunce. You've got your last chance to take part in this discussion. If you don't shut up while I take part in your argument, then you won't take part in the discussion anymore. Shut up and listen. There is no road in the sky.
I believe in democracy.
Yeah, right. Time for you to go, Russian asshole. You just won't tolerate a response coming your way, right? There's no road in the sky. Your comparison's stupid.
I didn't say there is a road.
So you're an asshole. I got 4 words into taking apart your shit argument, and you're talking through me. So you're a prick. Prick. You're a dunce. You've got a stupid argument where there's roads in the sky that are like hills. All you can do is talk through the demolition of your stupid dunce argument, where there's air pressure forming, magical tarmac hills. I'm still talking, dunce. It's just your crap argument being taken apart, dunce. I know you don't like being called stupid, but you are. That was a stupid argument.
Wasn't even an argument.
No, it was not. Hills are defined with their height above sea level. So you need a horizontal plane for the hill.
Russian, what day is it today? What day is it today? I just want to, what day is it? So you don't know what day it is, but you're going to teach us about how the plane works. Yeah.
No, that nonsense argument about air pressure is the biggest begging the question fallacy ever, and it also shows that they haven't thought it out. It isn't possible to follow an altitude around a spherical surface if that altitude is constant around that spherical surface and not have to dip the nose down. If you're following an altitude around a spherical surface, then you have to dip the nose below horizontal, which means you won't have any lift, which means you're going to crash. You don't understand this.
The Russian guy decided to talk about a third of the way through that statement, so fortunately one of the server mods were on and just muted him before you finished the end of the sentence. You're not listening to Brian, you're not listening to me, Russian. You're just here to cause trouble. aren't you?
I'm willing to discuss openly with anyone, like Nathan. Why did you call me asshole and
You can
other
you can
angels?
converse with me for a bit, right?
You're not the one who I was talking with.
It was my debate, right? So can you define what rigidity in space is, precession, gyroscopic? What do you know what an attitude indicator is?
Okay, let me be clear.
That's a yes or no question,
just
by the
answer
way.
him.
Do you know what an attitude indicator is?
Let me be clear. I wanted to point out that airplanes don't have to adjust
He's
their
going to
position.
reassert his claim. He's going to reassert his claim. He's completely ignored you, and he's now rinsing and repeating the same shit that he said 2 minutes ago. Dunce. We heard you 2 minutes ago, dunce. Now you're going to chant through me, stopping you doing it a second time. You've completely ignored him, and now you're chanting through me, aren't you, dunce? So you're just here to cause trouble, bit of audio chaos, and a rinse and repeat of the exact same garbage, with you chanting through me and causing audio chaos for a second time. He's asked you twice the same question. You've completely ignored him and reasserted what I took a giant steaming dump on not 2 minutes ago. You've completely ignored Brian. Completely and utterly ignored Brian. You're still talking through me. I haven't finished my statement yet. You ignored Brian entirely as well and attempted to obfuscate his point that he made. You started talking in the middle of it, and one of the server moderators, you're still talking through me. I haven't taken breath yet. You're just thick. You represent your typical shit-for-brains globehead. That's what you are, Russian man. Just a dunce.
Convince me I'm wrong.
Brains globehead.
You can't convince me because you call me.
I don't care. Nobody's trying to.
Asshole, and what I say you call shit.
Yeah, real quick, I'll convince you you're wrong. I'll convince you you're wrong.
You can't convince me because all you have is.
Yeah.
Who's better than you, huh?
Okay, I won't insult you. Ready? Ready? I'll disprove you. Planes fly like the Earth is flat and stationary.
May I also use his evidence to prove how wrong he is by pointing out that the hill will be described with respect to a plane of reference that we call surface level, or what, you know. So, like, I don't know why he's using a hill to talk about this.
He's just trying to say, like, the Earth, it's really big, therefore.
That's why you can't disprove me. Okay. If you don't understand,
says the guy who doesn't know what an attitude
to disprove. You don't know what you're talking about. That's the problem. You're saying you can't convince me, you can't disprove me. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't realize that what you're claiming is also a circle. It's also a circle. You're also claiming a circle. How can a plane fly horizontally and fly around a circle? It can't. It can't do it anyway because it will lose lift. So it will fall out of the sky. It's impossible for a plane to fly around the globe.
If you let me talk without
if you let me talk through the top of Brian's conclusion, if you let me talk through the top of what you're concluding with, I won't have to respond to it. If you let me, you're just an asshole. If I let you rumpus his point so you don't have to address him. No, you're just rumpusing him so you don't have to address anything he's just said. It's the second time you've done it to Brian. You're still doing it now to me. While I'm pointing out what you're doing it to me. You're chanting through the top of the conclusion that anybody makes, Russian. Russian, you're not going to get away with doing this to me.
Shut up, you communist bastard!
Of course, I'm polite. I'm
going to shut him up.
Shut up, idiot.
Shut up!
Why am I called asshole and idiot?
Because you are an asshole. What you're doing, I've just summarised, and as I've summarised what you are doing, you've done it to me while I'm summarising it. Brian made a point to you. You completely and utterly ignored him and chanted through the conclusion. And then as I pointed out what you are doing tactically, but you're doing it so calmly chanting through the top of Brian, like your politeness excuses the fact you're an asshole, a complete asshole, who isn't listening to anything anybody says, and then says things like, prove me wrong, prove me wrong, prove me through the top of the conclusion that's proving you wrong, making you nothing more than an asshole. So do you understand? You're still talking through the top of me, asshole, as my question about whether or not you understand what an asshole you are comes. You started talking. Do you understand why you're an asshole? Asshole.
First of all, I'm not an asshole. It's very rude of you to.
He's a Russian asshole.
You are. You're an asshole. What did Brian just say to you? If you cannot repeat what Brian just said, can you shut up? Can you repeat what Brian just put to you?
What did Brian?
You haven't got the slightest clue because you're an asshole and you didn't listen. You started asking him a question towards the end of his conclusion, meaning you weren't listening in the middle of his conclusion, you weren't listening at the end of his conclusion, and you're starting to talk meant that this demonstration is now concluded. You're an asshole. You didn't listen to a single word Brian said. That's why you're now saying, what did Brian say? He was talking to you. Asshole.
Okay.
Yeah, asshole, it's not okay. You're still talking through me. Asshole, I haven't finished my statement. You're just an asshole. Otherwise, you'd have been listening to Brian when you started concluding through the top of him when you weren't listening to him. That's asshole behaviour. So, asshole, nobody wants to talk to you because you're an asshole.
And also, you don't know the global religion to start off with that you're trying to defend.
Okay. Is there a Brian?
End of your time here, asshole. Bye-bye.
You're a Brian. That's what the last thing he said.
I think you should learn your globe model first, right? Like maybe how fast it spins first, maybe what the curvature rate is, how big it is.
Look, I've removed him. He's only here to piss us off, to wind us up. It's his only objective. Piss them off, ignore everything they say, throw in some spurious shit that you repeat 15 times, much to their annoyance. And when you don't respond or react to a single word they say, make sure that you justify because you've talked through the end of it so nobody's heard the conclusion and realised there's a question at the end of it. Because you just start talking. Just keep doing it until they're really annoyed with you. But so long as you keep calm, you can appeal to how calmly you're irritating the hell out of absolutely everybody with your rinse and repeat garbage claim that's been taken apart, with you chanting through the demolition of it 15 times. No, this is their only tactic. Let's just annoy them.
He's a paid actor.
You're discounting his mind-piercing argument of riding around a mountain in a car.
Indeed. With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ Panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, hitting me up on Coffee and PayPal and all that good stuff. Another shout out to somebody who actually gave me a substantial donation on PayPal over the weekend, so thank you very much. You know who you are. I'm not sure whether or not you would like your name mentioning, so I won't. But yeah, with that, another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ Panels. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.